Clendenin.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you very much. As promised, we are going to move, Councilwoman Hurtak.
I believe we have an answer for 47 and 48.
Uh,
Yeah.
could-
It is being worked on.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's being worked on.
Okay.
I apologize.
We were awaiting the resolution to
Oh,
come
I thought it was
downstairs.
ready.
Not quite yet.
Okay, well then
Okay.
just
Give us a few more minutes.
yeah, just holler at me when you've got it.
We are going to move directly in, as promised, to mobility on Unite Ashley. Oh, hold on one second. A little point of privilege here real quick. Tim, would you like to go to the podium and introduce him for me? We introduced all the interns except for the one that works in my office, so.
Tim Herberline, Lisa Vega, proud to have Leo coming in today. If you want to introduce yourself, I'll let you.
My name is Leo Herberline. I'm a student at Lakes High School. It's a privilege to be working here at City Hall. Getting personal experience with the inner workings of city politics. And yeah, it's a good first step.
You missed about how incredible it is working with Councilman Clendenin.
Oh yeah,
Very good. Thank you so much.
thank you.
And with the record reflect, Councilman Vieira is present in the House. Mr. Shelby?
Mr. Chairman, I would ask council's indulgence, please, to recall item number 92.
Yes, I've got that.
You do?
Yeah, I got it. I'll do this as soon as we finish with the Unite Ashley thing.
Okay. Oh, you want to do it?
Because I promised it would be the first thing after lunch, so.
This will not take more
Okay.
than a moment.
So we're going to indulge one more thing.
Thank
So, Council, we would, do we have to reopen or can I just announce it?
It just has,
Yes,
Madam Chair, how do you wish to handle it?
I could just announce it.
If you could
Okay,
just announce.
On
if-
item 92, we neglected to say when the second hearing for adoption was going to be held. So, Celine, would you like to make that announcement?
And if you,
Absolutely. On item number 92, file number Z0377, second reader and adoption will be held on July 17th, 2025 at 10 o'clock a.m. in Old City Hall, City Council Chambers, third floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
thank you.
Councilman Vieira.
Yes, sir, and I have a question. For 96 and 97, may we hear 97 before 96? Because 97 is a small part of the big thing, and I'd hate to get the two conflated, if that's okay with council.
You know, I don't even know if we need a motion for that. We'll go ahead and do that. Okay, very good.
Thank you very much.
We'll just do 97 first. Okay, so okay, Brandon, I know we've teased with you 2 times now, 3 times the charm. Let's move on, your item, please.
All right, thank you.
This is item number 94.
Thank you, Councilman. Good afternoon. Dennis Rahero, Chief Financial Officer. And of course, you see we have Director Campbell here with us. This item asks that revenue be recognized for a U.S. Department of Transportation grant and that existing budgets be realigned on 2 projects for the Unite Ashley Drive. I'm pretty sure council knows, but I want to reemphasize that this is only, today's request is only partial funding required for this project. You see as part of the background information that at this time, we anticipate about $22 million total. We are not asking for action on all $22 million, and we are prepared to discuss a couple of different funding scenarios based on questions we've received. And we can answer any questions that you'd like. You want to add anything, Director?
No, I'll just be available for questions.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
So yes, you've heard the discussions that we've had about using CRA funding. Where do we stand in that? I tried to get a little bit of understanding over lunch, but I'm still a little lost.
Yes, ma'am. And if I could have the Elmo up, please. Again, I'm a visual guy.
The wolf is slow to
Oh, the
waken.
wolf, that's right. It's a different
Yeah.
name now, isn't it?
We see it. There we go.
I said Elmo, and they're like, we don't know what you're talking about.
Almost like, no.
This is the current scenario and the action we have before you today. You see, the federal grant, a little over $5 million, the requested realignment of existing projects, and I'll point out, as we've said before, this is CIT bond money from about a decade ago that's getting stale. It's going to sunset in just a couple of years, so we would like to use that on something. And Broreen and Cass Street projects, there are other plans, plans to use other funding for those projects. And then the CRA, of course, council as the CRA board recently approved $8 million supplement. We do not have a financial resolution here for you today because I understand some of the inner workings of the CRA are still taking place, program changes and realignment.
Unmuted.
And then here, right now, in play from a future perspective is just under $4 million of funding that we're going to have to find someplace. Now, to provide context for this, you see, again, the $22 million total, but the timing of this project is such that it's going to take years, and it's going to take years before we need all of this funding. So we have some flexibility. Does this answer your question, ma'am, in terms of what we've got now?
That's what we, excuse me, knew about before. I was talking about the ability to find that extra 3.95 and possibly even more within the downtown CRA budget. Because we have heard from the public and we ourselves have kind of looked at it to see, is it a possibility for us to use future funds from the downtown CRA to pay for the extra $17 million?
Copy. And I have a scenario for that also. So level setting what we have right now, and this is one, of many potential discussions. And you see the changes in yellow and the highlighted information there at the top, increasing the CRA portion by $5 million to a total of $13 million, which would reduce the necessity for that future funding from someplace, and also would reduce the necessity for all of that CIT funding. If I can frame it a little wider than that, again, from a timing perspective, and I don't want to speak for the CRA administration, but they have a significant balance right now. Of course, you as the CRA board know that as you plan for the future, that balance is obligated, is the word they use. It's not budgeted, so to speak, but it's obligated for Project A, Project B, Project C. What we think is beginning in 2027, and again, we're happy to discuss with the CRA administration, what we think is beginning in 2027, they will have ample capacity for additional funding, which ties right in with the anticipated time frame of when that funding will be needed.
Excellent. So that's pretty much what I'm interested in. I know that Mr. Campbell and I spoke yesterday about the fact that we need to put some money forward to get started. But, so I think my question would be, if we need to move just the Broreen Street portion of the 2016 CIT bonds, if we approve that today so that there's money in the bucket to start the process, could we then, if we can iron out through the downtown CRA, iron out the rest of it as we look forward, especially in that budget cycle that we're going to be looking at soon? Okay, yes. So that's what I would like to see is, and again, I don't know if my colleagues agree or disagree, but ultimately, I would like to see the CRA finance or pay for this instead of look at any debt financing, mobility fees, CIT version 2. We have other things we can pay for, can use, that money could be used for. So I would like to try to get as much from the CRA as possible and to take the rest of those 2016 CIT bonds to pay down the debt on the West Riverwalk so that we take less money for that. That is the scenario I would like to play with.
Understood.
Because those are both things that the public has said we don't want to spend city dollars on. But if we already, technically we could spend the CIT bonds in many different ways, but since we already have it allocated, we might as well pay off debt before we take it on.
Understood. And I think council, depending on what the decision of council and the CRA board, when you sit as the CRA board, I think you're well placed today to do exactly that in terms of what we have before you and the timing of when the funding will be needed.
Okay, so if today we just say we moved, Mr. Campbell, you said you needed $2 million?
Yes.
So if we moved the $2 million from the Broreen Street CIT bonds into this project, would that be enough to just get us started until we can settle with the CRA?
We also have to allocate the transportation grant.
And that's what
Yes,
we
yes,
would
I
also
mean,
appreciate
Yes, both of
appropriating the
those.
grant. Great.
But I'm talking about just moving the cash to get us started.
Yes.
So-
Okay.
So if I hear you correctly, we'll move the $5,354,695 for the transportation grants project, and then $2 million out of the CIT Series 2016 bond capital funds.
Yeah, so I'd like to be more specific and say, I would like to approve the transfer reallocation and/or appropriation of $5,354,695 within the Transportation Grants Capital Projects Fund and $2 million within the CIT Series 2016 Bonds Capital Projects Funds Broreen Street category
That'll
for
work
use
us.
by the Unite Ashley Drive project, providing an effective date.
Okay, we have a motion for Councilwoman Hurtak. We have a second for Councilman Maniscalco. Does everybody understand the motion? Yes. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
And then I would like to continue to work with the both of you and CRA staff. We're still we're still working around with it, and Ms. Kopesky, we're all kind of working together. And I assume that the 2026 budget will be a good time that we can really look and see how we can put this forward.
Yes,
as-
we can refine it and set up the
Yeah.
funding timing and amounts
Correct.
prospectively. Yes,
I would really, so I will continue, I will commit to continuing to work with you on this. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question? Councilman Carlson.
Brandon, there are still concerns in the community about the configuration of this project. Just now, we were talking about how the money would be allocated. Is there any, is the project already set as is, or is there any room for additional public feedback on it?
So we do have the executed grant agreement, which obligates us to certain things. But the work order that we are just getting ready to issue a notice to proceed on with HNTB includes concept development pursuant to the NEPA evaluation. So there's certainly room for some modification. I know I brought some renderings before you before. Those will definitely be modified from that because they're first level.
And are there any public meetings during that time?
Yes, there will be.
Okay, do you know when they are yet, or?
No, they're not scheduled yet.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I understand it, some of these monies comes from the, only 6 cities in the country got money for the Reconnection Community Grant. Am I correct?
I don't know how many.
Well, that's what I heard.
were in
I
shape.
mean, somebody sent me, I'm not that looking into the future. I received a text today or email, whatever you want to call it, on other things that says that. And it's called Reconnecting Community Grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Yes, it's certainly a competitive grant.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you. I was told that we can't make up, there's no substitute resolution. Ms. Clerk, what do I need to do?
What I would suggest is proceed with the motion as rendered, and we can simply follow up the financial resolution to accord with the vote today.
Does that come back to council?
It can. I don't think it's necessary, but I would defer to legal.
Does the resolution have to be signed by the chair?
I think this resolution would stay, but again, I defer to legal on
So
that.
can somebody explain to me why what Councilwoman Hurtak's motion, why that would not be proper?
Oh, there's Mr.
Oh, okay. Again, that Mr. Mike Perry, the knower of all things, he points out that the resolution does have to be signed by the mayor. Now, in my checkered past in other localities, we would take the motion, approval of the motion, as approval by city council, and have the chief executive officer sign it. I don't see any difficulty with bringing it back, as
Okay.
long as we're all on the same page as to what you want to accomplish.
I'm fine with bringing it back
Okay.
then.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Okay, yeah, this is what I don't understand, because that would be a continuance. We passed a motion. Why would that not be in order?
Because the city council traditionally does not do resolutions on the fly when something's been filed on base, and it exists.
Okay, so, okay.
It's either up, down,
Well, you
or
lost me at
continue to
traditional.
amend.
Why, you lost me at traditionally. So throughout traditionally.
Because it's improper.
Why is it improper?
In the way the city council processes resolutions. and
Why is it
ordinances.
improper? Why can't we do it?
Because what's going to happen is you normally go in and sign resolutions that have already been filed with the clerk to sign it with your signature. Somebody from the staff does not come to you and say, sign this. Or,
So can't they
or- or-
modify that before my signature?
Pardon?
Can't
We
they
can,
modify?
Mr. Chairman, we can discuss this after the
Okay.
fact, but the fact of the matter is, it's not the way it has been done, and I hate saying that. But normally, there's a very good reason, especially when you're playing with lots of money.
Now, if I may, Mr. Chair, in the interim, Mike says that his shop can turn that revised financial resolution around by the end of your meeting, so we
Oh,
can bring it
perfect.
back
So,
if you'd like.
okay, so,
That is the ideal.
perfect,
Okay,
okay,
great.
perfect.
Just
So,
let us know when it's ready.
well, now let's do some business though, so, a motion to,
Return with that,
A motion to return with
Second.
the motion that I stated earlier.
we have a motion from
for
Councilwoman
me.
Hurtak,
For
a second
item
from
number
Councilman.
94.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Carlson?
Does she need to call it or? No, you don't need to call it.
I've kind of been calling it.
Well, if you're one thing I was gonna say, if you're bringing it back another day, I wish we would say as previously approved in whatever
Oh,
vote.
understood.
But if it's coming back today, fine.
And if we did, sir, we would do exactly that.
Just so the public would know. The other thing, we should put this on a workshop sometime. What Marty just said by accident and by your question is a pretty big deal because as I recall in the charter, we can't negotiate contracts. So if there's a contract that the administration has negotiated and they come back to us and all we can do is vote that up or down, but we're allowed to move budget numbers around. So this is not a contract. We should by charter be able to edit contracts and I would argue resolutions, but that's a conversation for
Yeah,
another
I
day.
took the IOU from Marty Shelby about having the conversation of this offline, so get a little bit more clarity on how this is gonna work. But I agree with you about the contracts, discussion as well. I think the point is well taken. Okay, so we're gonna look forward to seeing you guys, before the, close of business today. Thank you.
Thank
And
you,
we're gonna get out of here
council.
early, so get to work.
Yeah, Mike, get that thing done. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, our next item is going to, and I don't know if you heard this, Chief Tripp, but we're gonna do item 97 first. Item 97 first. Okay, and so, those of you that, we had this discussion, did we vote on Nick speaking? Did we already?
Yes.
We did, okay, I thought so, okay, good. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Council. Barbara Tripp, Fire Chief for Tampa Fire Rescue. And item number 7, I believe, is talking about the update for Station 24. Just know that we have been working with internal and external partners, and I can give you as far as the operation of what's going on in the area, just to let you know that we're still responding to calls, responding to the community through Station 13. Now, as far as the timeline, I do have my project manager who is online as well to be able to give you some updates, and as well if there's any other question, we do have contract admin as well.
Okay, so the folks that are online, do you wish to have time to present, or are you just here to answer questions?
Good afternoon. Yes, I would like to be able to give you a quick presentation if
We have to
possible.
wait for you to come up. Hold on one
Can
second.
we also just get the volume up? It seems like the microphone is not working at the lectern either. I'm having a hard time hearing people today. Yeah, it's really,
Yeah,
having a real hard time hearing.
not a bad idea. So can we pull up the online speaker? Okay. You want to turn your camera on?
Yep, I'm sharing my camera right now. Here I am. Good afternoon.
We see you. State your name first, please.
Ken Guyette, Senior Director with Collier's Project Leaders. We're the owner's project manager.
Floor is yours.
Great. If I could just share my screen. Are you able to see a screen yet?
Yeah, we see the screen, but it's still in the draft mode. You have to put it in presentation mode? Or we can see it that way, that's fine. I don't think the public sees your screen, though.
Second.
That would be on our end.
Here. How's this, better?
If you could put it
Put it in
Apologize.
presentation mode.
Showing presentation mode on my screen, that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, we see your, like, your work mode, like you can add notes and stuff. Yeah, that button right there on the bottom right, I think is what you, oh. And now it's gone. You just want to move forward with what you have?
Sure. Apologies.
Yes, leave it there.
That's fine.
Yeah, now I don't believe the public can see that, though. Television crew.
Okay, thank you again for allowing me to present. It's going to be a very brief presentation. Just a real quick update on where we're at with Fire Station 24 at this point. So just really quickly, the core team we have shown here on the screen, Beyond the City and the Tampa Fire Rescue. We are Collier's project leaders, again, the owner's project manager. And then there's the design build entity, which is comprised of ADG, which is Architects Design Group, and Kokalakis Contracting. So really quick, regarding the design team and ourselves, we came on board in March of this year. So I think the design team got their notice to proceed on March 20th, and we came in shortly thereafter. Real quick on the project location, just to give you another brief overview of where the two stations are that are currently, we're talking about Fire Station number 24, which is up on East Whiteway Drive. And obviously, we have members that are kind of taking over the brunt of the work right now at Fire Station number 13, which is about 2.5 miles away over on East Annie Street in Tampa. So where we're at currently right now with the design. So right now, the design team has been working in the pre-design phase. So there's been some due diligence out on the site. The design team was working off of an older site survey when they did their original presentation back when they were looking to be hired as the design team and part of the design build entity. As part of the due diligence, they went out there and took a look at the wetlands and restaked out the delineation of the wetlands. And it actually, we found that it actually shrunk the wetlands pretty significantly. So what we're dealing with now is we're actually dealing with a site where we're actually going to be able to hopefully handle most of the stormwater drain off in a retention pond rather than in underground drainage structures, which is significantly less expensive. And so, that due diligence was well worth the effort to again, be able to determine exactly what was out on site. So this is first option for what this site might look like. So on the left-hand side, the larger parcel is where the building is anticipated to go, along with the circulation and the parking. The white bar that's in the middle of these two green spaces happens to be a right-of-way that cuts through the parcel. And so on the right-hand side, that other green space is likely going to be used for some additional stormwater retention. And that's going to be kind of what we're going to look at for both options. So this is the first option. You come in on the second entrance off of East Whiteway, circle back around the building, and that's how you access into not only the secured parking, but also into the apparatus bays. Next slide you see here happens to be the floor plan that goes with option number one. So this floor plan is based on the space needs assessment that was done early on in the process as part of the programming effort. So the design team gave us a bunch of questions, and we went through those with the fire station and the chief and her team to determine what their needs were, how many bunks, how many bays, all those different ancillary items that they need. And this is the what's come out for the first kind of iteration of that site plan and that floor plan. This is, again, very early on in the design process. We're still in pre-design. So this is likely going to change in several different ways over the next iterations of the design. It's going to likely, spaces are going to get smaller, spaces are going to get removed, some spaces are going to get added, et cetera, as we go through the design process. Second option that we show here, option number 2, is a little bit of a different configuration on the building, where now the apparatus bays are on the eastern side of the building rather than the western side of the building. And you enter into the site through the first entrance coming from the west off of East Whiteway Drive, circle around. That's where now the secure parking is, and then you access the apparatus bays. Similarly, here is the floor plan for that option. Again, slightly different configuration on the interiors, but all conforming to the space needs assessment in the program that was given to the design team for them to start their design process. Speaking a little bit more into the project schedule, what we have here is this is the overall schedule that was provided by the design build team to outline all the different tasks that get us from their notice to proceed all the way to construction. And that's essentially the 461 days that we spoke about last time that they are currently under contract for. And so as you can see at the top of the page, this is, again, this has been truncated for ease of being able to fit it on one sheet. But there are several tasks that have been already completed. We're up to, I think, task number 17 out of 72 tasks that have been completed. And we're showing current, the current status is this red bar on the right-hand side. That's just going to continue to march down that linear graphic on the right to show how we're going to progress throughout the process. One of the things that I wanted to do, just for clarity's sake and to help with kind of expectations going forward, is to show that big schedule, that multi-task schedule on a kind of a big overall macro schedule. And so what we show here are the big chunks of time that are part of the design phase to get us to the GMP, to get us finally into construction. So as you can see here, as per the contract, we've got the design phase, which is 15 months. We're currently in pre-design, working our way to what's the next phase, which is considered schematic design, which is the 30% completion of the contract construction documents. Then it goes into design development, which is the next phase, which is going to happen on or about the 1st of November. And then we'll move into the final construction documents for 90, and then final contract documents, which will be the guaranteed maximum price, the GMP from the contractor, on or about the last part of May of next year. One of the things we did want to discuss is this is important for moving forward, is we want to ensure that we're looking at all aspects of the project to try to reduce and compress the schedule. We understand it's just as important to us. It's one of the things we like to focus on the most between the cost and quality is also the schedule of the project. And so we want to compress schedule wherever possible. So between the last meeting and this meeting, the last council meeting and this council meeting, we've already reduced the schedule in a matter of 30 plus days just by the removal of one task, which is a duplication of a city council approval, which would not be required for this project since the GMP is intended to be under $20 million. And then we kind of outlined some of the other items that we think that we can gain some significant reduction on tasks, such as the owner review process that happens at each phase of the design, where we've got a significant amount of time that's for the end user to review and for us to do our peer review and our design review. We think we can reduce that. And so we're looking at all those aspects of the owner review process to reduce. We've already been in contact with the permitting agencies in the city. We've got a meeting that's going to happen within the next couple of weeks to get us and the design build team in the same room and start talking about the permitting process and really get into the granularity of that permitting process, how we can compress the time frame, how can we ensure that our first submissions are going to be the best submissions and that we're not going to have to go back and do resubmits, that we get the permitting agencies and the authorities having jurisdiction, everything that they need at the first iteration and not have to go back and forth. And we're going to help ensure that we're going to close off those bottlenecks as they come up and make sure that we get that permitting process moving as effectively and efficiently as possible. So we're expecting that we're going to see some reduction in time there as well. There also is some opportunity with the design durations. We've been in close contact, obviously, with the architect and their design team. They feel that they can compress their schedule as well. They've outlined some areas where they see some additional float, so we can hopefully pull that time in. So as time progresses here, we're going to be able to pull dates back as we move forward in the process, and everybody's going to look to work that in going forward. Likewise, there's always a potential for early enabling work, some early site work, some looking at the project in a different way. We're working with a contracting firm as well as a design team to see if there's any opportunities there as well. And so that'll be developed in the coming weeks as we continue to move through the design process. And hopefully at some point, as we continue with these periodic updates to the council, you'll start seeing that schedule is going to get compressed more and more and more. And this is just the graphic on the left is just more of a blow up of where the station is in reference to the softball complex at Greco and where it is located in the city. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Does council have any questions? Councilman Vera.
I don't have any questions. We met yesterday. Can I go through some remarks, if I may, Mr. Chair?
Let me make sure. Does the council have any questions for the presenter?
I do. I just have one question.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
This sounds fabulous that you're able to find some areas where you can close some gaps, and thank you for that. I'm glad that bringing you on has already brought about these conversations. Do we expect to have a modified schedule or timeline?
I would anticipate so, yes.
Okay.
I think that you'll see that as we go periodically. So we've already kind of got a modified schedule based on just the conversation we had between the last council meeting and this council meeting on reducing the overall duration by a month. Between this meeting and the next meeting, there will be several conversations that will happen. Predominantly, the first one that's going to be the most important to me is the permitting process and how we can work with the city agencies to reduce that as well. So between that discussion as well as me having our discussions internally with my team, Collier's team, and the chief and her team on how we can potentially reduce and compress the schedule on our owner reviews, we anticipate that those two items alone will show some compression in the schedule at the next go around. The design team and the contractor, it's a little bit different. So the design team has got kind of the control of the rest of the phases of the design. So it's going to be important that we continue our conversation, and one is going to impact the other. So the permitting discussion is obviously going to impact how the design team can do their work. And so the hope is that after that conversation with the permitting groups and the agencies, the design team can then look at their schedule again critically and be able to compress their schedule as well. So we're hoping to kind of be able to do multiple compressions as we're going forward here and be able to show those revised timelines at the coming meetings that are going to be coming up.
Okay.
Well, that's great, because I know that Kokalakis does a lot of work with the city. So I'm hoping that because they have that connection with permitting somewhat, that we can definitely move this forward. I mean, I'll be looking at that certainly for future contracts.
That's the intent, yes. Yep.
Councilman Vieira, you had some general remarks as we kick off the discussion.
Thank you very much. I wanted to go through because I think it's important to note this is 30 days from September of 2026, correct? In other words, you're saying we can shave off 30 days. That's from September of 2026 mark, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay,
it brings us back to August of 26. That's correct.
That's my problem, and that's why I'm going to talk and go into history. Because, and I appreciate you, Ken, I appreciate Chief Tripp, Mr. Mutterback and I talked yesterday, and I know everybody wants to get this moving. The documents that I'm going to show that this is a station that's been supported for a while, but there are certain challenges that I think it's very, very important to go through. By virtue of history, I think it's important to note that, again, in February of 2025, we got a report on this station, and I want to remind council that we were told that groundbreaking would occur around March of 2026, and we were very unhappy with that. And we were told that there were certain things that could be done to expedite the process, including hiring a project manager, which we did. I'll go through all this. And then the next time we heard, it was going to be September of 2026, which I know frustrates Chief Tripp, it frustrates Local 754, and it frustrates Tampa City Council. So I think it's important to go through some basic history issues here, because this station's really been a long time coming. I passed out to Tampa City Council, and I can file this in the public record, a couple of documents that I think are very, very important for transparency on where we've been on Station 24. If you look at what I mark as what you can call it Exhibit 1, it's an April 20th, 2022 document, an email from the City of Tampa showing Fire Station 24 with real estate considering potential sites.
I was
Yes.
just going to say, would you like?
Absolutely, yeah. If you,
Nobody's
go
gonna
for
read
it
that.
if you'd like. With Tampa's, and you know what? You don't need to put it on the Elmo there. I mean, because it's the public can't read it, but whatever.
If I can, Mr. Vier, I'm sorry, but
Yes,
you have
sir.
a copy for the clerk? Did you say you could?
Yeah, here I'll yeah, and I was
okay.
going to do a motion
Thank
for
you.
it
I didn't realize
afterwards.
came in. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have a document here which is from April of 2022 showing particular sites. There was an early discussion that my office had with Chief Tripp on where Station 24 was going to be on K-Bar Ranch versus the North Tampa area. You go to Exhibit 2, July 25th of 2022, an email from Tampa Fire Rescue inquiring on where 24 would be. The answer was not K-Bar Ranch, North Tampa. I defer to Chief Tripp on that, right? And ma'am, you don't need to go through those. Yeah, I appreciate it, but you're good. You don't need to go through those. I mean, you can go through them, but not for the Elmo there. So this is a very important note because in the middle of 2022 is when the process got started for this being a North Tampa Fowler Bush station as opposed to New Tampa. That's when the clock should start ticking on fire station number 24. Again, it's very critical. Exhibit 3, November of 2022, documents show the 4902 Whiteway was chosen and land had been surveyed. So by the end of 2022, about 2 3/4 years ago, the administration had said, hey, listen, this is where we're going to do it. January of 2023, it was agreed to move forward with design build after they agreed with a land location. Then you go to a document here, which is Exhibit 4 that I have. And this was something that was presented in the February 2025 meeting by the administration, where it shows a work order issued to Otero Engineering for $40,000 for Station 24, as well as an October-November stormwater management plan delivery done with site investigation report delivery. Again, the ball is rolling. This is 2.5, a little over 2 years ago. The ball is rolling with vigor. Then we have a discussion because there's a lot that's been said about Local 754 and saying, well, they vetoed the site. They vetoed the site. A couple of things. The administration can always do what they want to do, strong-mayor form of government, right? But to the extent that there was a dialogue that was had with the union on this site, and there was one, I'll go into it, and I have dates and facts on that, that was very, very short-lived. Local 754 came to me, and there was some concern on the area of the fire station. My position was bitterly ironic at this point, which is, let's have it at Whiteway. Number one, you know, the professionals are going to do what they do in management. And may I have a couple more minutes, if I may? Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I have a request for additional minutes, 2 more minutes. Says any opposition, unanimous consent, yes.
And probably 3 if okay, but if fine. So thank you very much. So that is when things started. You go to November 9th of 2023, there is a Facebook post that I did. There's always a tweet, there's always a Facebook post, right? Where Donnie and Mr. Stocco and I met with the administration to communicate that everybody was good and had been agreed to some time before for Station 24 being on Whiteway. That is 2.5 years ago. in that regard. You go to Exhibit 6, and part of my voice, by the way, I was a little bit sick. November 28th of 2023, a memo showing that property would be used for Station 24. A civil engineering feasibility analysis was done. They were in the process of submitting a project initiative requirement and design package. The ball was rolling. November of 2023, and my frustration comes that from November of 2023 to the groundbreaking, we are told that it's going to be 2.5 years from that time when the ball was rolling. As I'll talk about, we funded design before that in the city, in Tampa City Council, and we're told that 2.5 years after that is a proper time for groundbreaking, something that I really contest. Exhibit number 7, you show the fiscal year 2024 to 2028 budget. 2024, passed in 2023, $1.6 million for design. When I say that we passed design in 2023, we did not vote on the plan for design, but we gave the administration the money for it. January of 2024, City Council approved Resolution 2024-139, which set in motion through bonding $16 to $17 million to fund Station 24. They have the design money. They have the money for construction through bonds. Everything is set. February 2025, then, we have the meeting. Exhibit number 8, March 21st of 2025. As a reminder, February 6th of 2025, we have the meeting where we're told on March 2026 groundbreaking date. Tampa City Council isn't happy with that. We are told there are certain things that can be done to expedite that. This memo is consistent with that. A memo from Tampa Fire Rescue which shows an expedited process where Tampa Fire has hired a project manager to accelerate the schedule. Again, it was talking about accelerating the schedule, not within 461 days. That's something that's been said before. When we voted on that in February of 2025, all of council was very frustrated with March of 2026, and a timeline was given of, I believe it was 461 days. If we did not approve that, we would delay this project even more, and that's the only reason that we voted for that. Not to do it 461 days, but to push it within and before March of 2026. You see some memos thereafter, council, where continue to be updated. So bottom line is with this, is that this is a station, it's gonna be forthcoming. We appreciate all the support of folks on it, but the timeline of 2.5 years from the end of November of 2023 to September, that's actually 3 years, to September of 2026 for a groundbreaking is to me unacceptable, and that's why we have to go through the timeline. Council, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Councilman Vieira. Is there any other further questions before I recognize Chief Tripp? Chief Tripp, would you like to add anything before I recognize Nick Sacco?
No, unless you have any questions for me.
And if I may, just
Councilman Vieira.
no more remarks. Okay. But thank you, Chief Tripp. Yeah, we've had some long discussions on this, and I know as well as with the union, and we're going to get there. But thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, President of the Tampa Fire Union, Nick Sacco, is recognized. Yes, sir. State your name first.
Good afternoon, Nick Stocco, President of Tampa Firefighters, Chairman, City staff, City Council, members of the public, thank you. I think Councilmember Vieira did a very good job of highlighting how we got here, and I think that's very important. Not to discredit the presentation from the project manager or discredit any of the information that they said. I think we really need to focus on what got us here today. Looking at November of 2022 or April of 2022, how is it now June of 2025 and we're receiving what we should have received in 2023 following the 2022 land selection? I do have some documents, but Councilman Vieira did a very good job of highlighting the timelines on how it got here. So I would be available for any questions from us. However, I think Councilmember Vieira really did highlight on all of our talking points that we were going to say today.
Council have any questions?
No, just a statement.
Councilman Miranda?
They could have built a football stadium at that time.
But would you have voted for the football stadium? He's going to ignore me now? Mr. President, question, is the union involved at all in the design phase of these stations? Or are you part of the are you a participant in this process?
No, in our negotiations in October of 2022, we ratified a contract that at any time a fire station were to go through major renovations or that new fire stations were to be designed, to be constructed, that there would be a station design committee. It does not explicitly say that the union would have a seat at the table. However, there were some individuals that were at that table from when the selection process was made, again, late in August of 2024. So unfortunately, we did not concrete our language in 2022 through collective bargaining. We had only made it a point that a station design committee would be established at any time that major renovations of fire stations or additional fire stations would be built.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. Thank you. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I do have a question for Chief Tripp. Thank you, Mr. Sacco.
We're going to get you exercise this morning, or this afternoon.
I want to ask you a question, so don't go far.
Okay.
Nick.
Don't go far.
Stay local.
So, as far as the budget goes, I know that I've seen some things because I'm curious about what's going to go in this fire station. Do we already have the apparatus we need for this station?
Yes, we do.
So that should not be a part of the budget.
You're correct. So what, excuse me, what I had been doing, of course, with your approval, with the additional funding to kind of help replace, I kind of strategically, like picked out, this is coming, just like the additional rescue cars. So I kind of ordered it, ahead of time, knowing that it's coming. And of course, 24 was in an older vehicle. So of course I did order a new vehicle for 24.
Okay, so we can certainly put that off of, okay, I just wanted to double check, I thought, but I wanted to make sure it was on the record.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, Nick, could you stand up, Mr. Stocco? President Stocco. Just for the public, I want to remind the public, we identified this as the most urgent need several years ago. I fully supported Councilmember Vieira and others who pushed for this, even though it's not in my district, because it's the biggest need in the city. And then we were hoping that this would go quickly, and by now we would have stations and other equipment working in other areas. Could you just, for the public's sake, tell us in your analysis, in the union's analysis, how many more stations we need and what the overall need is for facilities and equipment? Like, not the long list, but just in general.
Sure, yeah, we're actively working on a new GIS study that will hopefully be able to align with all of the additional growth that's happened within the last couple of years. The last study that we did in 2022 through the GIS study called for 3 immediate stations. It was 1 in Channelside, and if I'm not mistaken, 2 in the North Tampa area, 1 because of the long response times in the K-Bar Ranch area, and 1 in the more central Sulphur Springs, Forest Hill area because of the call volume. So there was an immediate call in 2020 for 3 additional stations. There was additional 17 that were called for in 2022, understanding that we have more of a density issue here in the urban core than a geographical issue for distances. It's more of the time frames because of the density that we have is why the additional 17 were called for. To include South Tampa for additional capital improvements for fire stations due to the growth as well as South Tampa.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, we've kind of transitioned off of 97. Is there anything further on Fire Station 24 board? Has this kind of transitioned into 96?
If I may briefly.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, so what I would just say in closing on this is we're going to continue to have the reports on there, and I'll continue to meet with our project manager, Ken, with Chief Tripp, to the extent necessary with Mr. Mutterback and different folks on this. And again, September of 2026 appears to be the new mark. I'm not happy about that at all. But if we can continue to shave time, we have what we have. And we're going to have to go forward with that. And I know that a lot of folks from the union to the chief and others are frustrated with that. And we're going to have to do what we have to do. But we're going to continue to work to shave time off that. Again, we were frustrated over March of 26. So imagine the frustration with September of 26. But as we do monthly reports, we'll continue to work on that. So thank you, Council.
Thank you, Councilman Vieira. Okay, without objection, we're gonna slip right back to 96, the master plan.
All right, good afternoon again, Council, Chief Barbara Tripp, Fire Chief, and of course I have the Chief of Administration, Chief Jenkins, here for assistance. This is more or less of an internal master plan, basically based on the need analysis that was done in 21-22. You know, if you want to call it a progress report or update or whatever, but basically based on that need analysis, I've come up with some data and some information of what the recommendations were, what we have done, and where we should be heading to in the future. So, of course, some of the information in here are going to deal with the study from Fitch and Associates. So the goal is to maintain the mission of and vision of Tampa Fire Rescue as well as the City of Tampa. Tampa Fire Rescue is a progressive fire safety organization with professional and competent employees. This administration goal is to continue implementing advanced technology while serving the community, and basically we want to do it in an efficient and effective way.
I would suggest scrolling right straight to the Fitch slide, just for expediency.
I'm sorry, say again?
I would go right to your Fitch slide to go for expediency.
What page you want to go to? You tell me.
The one with the Fitch and Associates? No, she's got a separate. Hold on. There we go.
All right, so
Get
just
into the meat.
All right, so just to give you a little history, just to go back from back in November 2020, of course, when I got sworn in, Tampa Fire Rescue was faced with a lot of challenges. Of course, we talk about the COVID, the Super Bowl, as well as accreditation, and on top of that, the call volume that was up in North Tampa area, Station 13. So a consultant was hired for a need analysis, which was Fitch and Associates. And based on the results here, they gave us some feedback, pretty much stating that Tampa Fire Rescue is an excellent department. It's 1 in 300 agencies that's accredited through these Center for Public Safety Excellence out of 30,000 agencies, as well as being a department in the top 10% with an ISO rating or 2 or better. Based on the review of Tampa Fire Rescue from the consultants, of course, we have some recommendation that was listed here. So throughout this presentation, I'm going to identify some of the positive results that has been implemented within the department as well as in the community. So of course you see some of the bullet points is reference as far as the recommendation. Highlighted recommendations are references and steps that's completed or actually in progress. So one of the main things was talking about response time, which is performance time as well, has been a major concern, as well as the excessive workload. TFR administration had made changes to its policies and procedures to help with this response time. We also had increased personnel and decreased our vacancy rate, and as well as in the process of implementing the new CAD system. So I just want to give you a highlight to show that once Tampa, this administration came into play, our vacancy rate was real high. Currently, our vacancy rate is down 4.86, and I think it's one of the lowest ones that's within the city of Tampa. It actually shows in 21 we hired 15 firefighters, 22 76, 23 34, 24 38, and of course so far this year we've hired 16 that will be graduating tomorrow, become part of Tampa Fire Rescue. Here's some additional recommendations from Fitch and Associates, and of course it talks about the opportunity to expand the departmental coverage. TFR has ordered additional resources like area ladders, and basically plan is to strategically implement them in the areas where it's needed. So we're also going to talk about the reduction of unnecessary units being deployed. With that, it's going to take for policy changes as well as the implementation of a new CAD system. We talk about the future growth, including equipment and, of course, fire station. Within the last 4 years, we remodeled Station 25, which we have 2 transport units coming out of there. And as we wait for the construction of Station 24, this administration added a new engine, which is currently running out of Station 13 to assist with the call volume. On top of that, as far as the equipment, from the last 4 years, we have added 4 additional transport units based on the recommendations, and looking forward to adding another one before the end of this quarter, as well as hopefully get approved for additional personnel to add another transport unit by the end of the year. We also add a new heavy rescue that was added up in New Tampa. Just wanted to show you some numbers based on the last couple of years as far as the call volume in each one of y'all districts. Wanted everyone to see the grid of basically Tampa Fire Rescue is broken up in 5 different districts, and basically this is how we respond to our calls. If I talk about the historical history, that was one of the challenges back in 21, 22. You know, as you can see, some of the recommendations that came from the National Fire Protection Agency, which is NFPA, as well as the CFAI, which is the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. Tampa Fire Rescue, actually, this is their 4th accreditation, and we're looking to come up for reaccreditation within the near future. But part of that talks about our dispatch time, our turnout time, our travel time, which will give you a total response time. So dispatch talks about, you know, the time the call come in, turnout time, the time it takes for the personnel to go to get out to the vehicles and respond to the calls, which give you your total time. But of course, the travel time, a lot goes into play with that when we talk about traffic. So with this new CAD system and with the policy changes, there's going to be a great improvement with the total response time, especially with dispatching and turnout times. Travel time is going to be a work in progress with the traffic and the growth of the city, and hoping to implement a pre-exemption system to help with emergency vehicles going through the traffic signals. I wanted to talk a little bit about the response time. This is just an average overview of the response time from the time the alarm was received and personnel arriving on scene. It's broken down by the years. Of course, we can actually break it down with the different shifts. And of course, the green, which is none on here, represents 9 minutes or less. Yellow represents 9 to 11 minutes, and red represents greater than 11 minutes. But with that being said, it's a lot of different factors that plays into that. Based on my chart, I was only able to get 2 years on here so you can be able to read it. But if you see, it's last year, and of course, the first quarter of 2025, it's broken down by the shifts and the units. Call received to first dispatch. As you can see at the bottom, it is showing red, which is where this new CAD system is definitely going to help out to get those calls out. But if you look at those numbers, they're anywhere between 2 to 3 minutes. That has an effect on our total response time. So this is going to be definitely an area that's been improving with the changes that we have. And of course, it's going to include policy changes. It's going to help decrease excessive units being dispatched. That was one of the recommendations, that we actually dispatch too many units to the calls, too many unnecessary units to the call. So basically, all of that is going to assist with the response time once this CAD is implemented. So this is for 22, and of course, I got a couple as the years goes on. Just wanted to give you an idea of how we have been able to break down some of the numbers. This is the rescue transport unit. It's broken down over 4 quarters, and of course, to give the total hours along with the incident. So basically what this is showing the unit hour utilization. It talks about the average hours per day within the 24-hour period that the individual is working. So if it's green, it shows 30% or less of their shift. Yellow shows 40%. And red shows 50%. And right now, this is 22, and that was before we added some additional units. We added 2 transport units. That was Station 25. We also added Rescue 19 down in South Tampa in 23. And then, of course, you're going to see the green is going to increase with that. We're looking to add Rescue 12, and we just added Rescue 6 the beginning of the year to help with downtown Tampa. So this is just the same chart, and based is just another year, but as you can see with the implementation that this administration has implemented from the recommendations, you can see the numbers are getting better and better. And of course, this is, this is year 24. So as you can see, the green is getting a lot better. We have different areas that we're looking into, and of course, once we add these other transport units, we're hoping that whole sheet be green. The next sheet just talk about the engines, and these are the non-transport units, but these are all ALS units, just kind of give you an idea of their unit hour utilization as well. The reason I put this in here is basically just to show you when the call volume take place. Of course, we talk about peak hours, and I just use Station 13 as an example. Of course, it has the the number of calls throughout the day. This is for 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24, the top one. And basically, it just shows engine, yes, it shows engine 24 and engine 13. And if you notice, our peak hours kind of start going into effect around about 9:30, 10 o'clock up until 8 at night, give or take. This is all of the rescue cars, and basically for those years. Just wanted to see if all of these charts basically have that same peak hours when the calls volume started increasing. And this last one is all of the engines over a 24-hour period. So if you notice, you still have that hump during the same time, pretty much from 10 to like 8. So just to let you know, Tampa Fire Rescue will continue to focus on the city of Tampa T3, and as far as the community, we're one of the oldest career departments with a rich history as well as tradition. The future of Tampa Fire Rescue is intended to support the public safety initiative. So Tampa Fire Rescue administration will continue to make Tampa Fire Rescue a safe, respectful, welcoming place for all employees. We know the city of Tampa is growing, and once again, this TFR administration is going to continue to monitor and shift priorities with different programs and goals in mind. That is reviewing often the safety and priority for internal and external process, including ongoing projects, which we're in the process of doing now. So as we talk about the master plan, these are some of the key objects and strategies that we're looking to implement, and currently that is implemented. It's 5 particular areas, which we're talking about: mental health training, community resilience, data-driven strategies, and basically to assist with the growth and the community needs. And I'll just run through these real quick. So we talk about one of the objectives was the health and wellness. Of course, we're looking at continuing the partnership, internal, statewide, and individuals are getting their extra set of bunker gear. We're in the process of implementing gear cleaning sites within each district, but they also have the opportunity to get their gear washed as needed through our supply division. We're going to continue to monitor and evaluate the members and provide support and resources as needed for any type of mental health through our EAP program as well as our CISD team. And of course, when we talk about modernization, a lot of the vehicles now are coming in, or we're being able to pre-con them with decontamination options. Tampa Fire Rescue continues to support the training and education opportunities for advancement and growth. Of course, we are trying to grow our leaders, and we're doing it internally, externally, through different conferences, of course, with the U.S. Fire Administration as well as the state of Florida. So we're in the process of developing a succession plan. And most important, one of the other objectives is increasing community resilience. So we're targeting, we're monitoring high target areas within the community. That includes the Milliken fires. Over the last 4 years, we've had multiple public outreach within the community with the local partners. We've installed smoke detectors. We've had educational campaign internally and externally within the city. The city of Tampa now is getting ready to do a campaign with the water department as far as dispersing like quarterly mailers about educating when it comes to fire prevention weeks, swimming challenges. We have quarterly health and safety events. Of course, May 10th, we celebrated 130 years anniversary that the city of Tampa has been around, which was an excellent opportunity for the community to come out and see. And we also educate the community in hands-on CPR. We have a CERT program, which is the Community Emergency Response Program, which has been successful. And to date, we have over 220 community partners that's willing to help us and have helped us on the last couple of natural disasters that we've had. One of the other objectives moving forward, I say, as far as a master plan for the city, Tampa Fire Rescue is, of course, this CAD system. This CAD system is definitely is going to be a key component in making sure that we be able to get the data that we need to be able to strategically locate additional stations or personnel within the community. Currently, Our system is outdated. It's been outdated for many, many years when I was still out on the street. But of course, this administration has been working hard with internal stakeholders to make sure we get this implemented, and we're hoping to have it by the fall of next year. So with that, that's going to help us identify and dispatch the closest unit for a quicker response. And we're also going to classify the calls by the types and locations to provide better service to the community. One of the other forward-moving strategic for the growth of the city, of course, station remodeling. We have remodeled some stations, and of course, we're in the process of building Station 24. With that, we are looking for a facility to, for the repairs, a fleet facility to repair our vehicles as well as storage. So we've started a vehicle replacement to make sure we continue to keep up with our vehicles. And when I say keep up with our vehicles, to make sure we don't have the old outdated vehicles. And with that, we're looking to work with the different vendors to make sure that we can extend the service of the life of the vehicles to get more bang for our bucks. All right, once again, Tampa Fire Rescue is an outstanding all-hazard agency with outstanding, motivated, and professional employees. Tampa Fire Rescue Administration took the report and recommendation and has implemented them while others are still in progress. Unit hour utilization has and still being addressed, and of course the data shows, and agent frontline apparatus has been addressed and being monitored. Technology, of course, we know this is a work in progress, and as we know, the deficit did not happen overnight and will not be resolved in 24 hours. So I can attest to the last 4 years, Tampa Fire Rescue has made great strides to overcome those challenges with the assistance of city officials and leaders, and most importantly, the community we serve. Tampa Fire Rescue is back on the map. So based on your recommendation, Councilmember Vieira, as the technology is implemented and completed, a formal master plan can be conducted by an outside consultant at a later date. And basically, I just want to thank the 800+ members of Tampa Fire Rescue, men and women, the entire community, for their unwavering support over the last 4 years. Yesterday, I celebrated my 4 years as being sworn in as the first female fire chief. And as I stated on that day, that I was going to be working as hard as they will. Also, I was going to serve and protect our community. I pray that I have proven that commitment by my actions and walking the walk and not just the talk. So thank you, and if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Sure. Thank you, Council. First, congratulations on your 4th anniversary.
Thank you.
It's just been an easy ride, hasn't it?
Just like riding a bike.
Yeah, just a delight. Councilman Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Chief Tripp. And we also obviously talked about this yesterday, and you mentioned, you were kind enough to mention that I was going to make a motion on this. So long story short, Council, we dealt, the administration created the Public Safety Master Plan, or did it, I guess, if you will, under the Fitch report. I believe it was, Chief, in 2022, if I recall. And I think it's good to have an amended one. I know, so you and I talked about this, and I said, you indicated, the CAD is going to change the numbers and so forth, but that could be 1.5 years to 2 years or so. And I think it's smart to see where we're at right now, including the age of stations and things like that. At this point, the CAD's going to change things, obviously, but that'll take some time. Personally, I don't know how council feels about it. I'd hate to wait 2.5 years before we have another objective analysis. That's just my opinion, Chief. So what I'm going to be doing, council, with y'all's support, is to do a motion to have just a written report come back in March or in October of 2025 on
26.
No, 5. Yes.
This year.
Yes, sir. Yep, this year. On the feasibility of doing an updated public safety master plan through you guys' perspective, and I'll put the verbiage in the motion and all that kind of good stuff. I appreciate you going throughout the city of Tampa in terms of the needs and everything. I mean, the way you talked about some, and the union had also talked about some key areas. Downtown Tampa, obviously, I think is a critical area. We talk about New Tampa. If I may ask you, how are things going with the Morris Bridge cut through? If you know about that presently, or do you need?
I have not. Last I spoke to before Vic retired, Brandon, so I can reach out to Brandon and
Yes, ma'am.
get an update on it.
It's right there.
Oh,
Well, I think we can take, I think we can take that off.
I can speak to it real quickly.
Okay,
You
go
have-
ahead.
I know there was that you had made a motion and we had a staff report. I can't remember which agenda it is on, but because of the Bassett Creek crossing, there's not really an opportunity for us to install a temporary extension out to Morris Bridge Road, but there is progress on the permanent solution, so.
Thank you, and thank you. I'm glad we,
Thank you.
serendipitous. Roughly, if I may, sir, if I may, roughly how long do you think that would take for the permanent solution?
I think the details are in that staff report, but I'll get you
Okay.
a better number than I have floating around in my head right
That's a
now.
bridge over wetland, is it the?
Yes, yes.
And thank you for that. And Chief, I have a question for you, which is, you know, I know that you've always had a very, I guess if you will, like, ambitious vision on fire stations in Tampa. We've talked about that before. And by the way, also congratulations on 4 years. Time goes by very, very fast, doesn't it?
for you, not for me.
Yeah. It does. Maybe not up there.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
not up there,
Yeah,
God bless
no, it
you, right?
has, it has.
But time goes by fast. But in your opinion, Chief, as the Tampa Fire Rescue Chief, how many stations do you think we need additionally throughout our city of Tampa? You know, this is gonna be a big issue of discussion I'm not gonna be here before the next administration and talking and everything. Just in your opinion as a professional, if you can opine, how many more stations and where do you think we eventually need some? Obviously, we're talking about North Tampa. We're trying to make some compromise on New Tampa, but other areas.
So if I was to discuss how many stations that we actually need, the first thing I think what we need to do is take the 60, 70-year-old stations that we have and rebuild them.
Yeah.
And for multiple reasons. So you think about fire department, EMS was not involved. Now we're going to medical calls. So we have put more resources in these small stations, so it's compact. So it's basically, when I go in and try to remodel these stations, it's very hard, you know, and then one of the recommendations I have tried to get was one of those portable fire stations, to be able to take it, bring it in, dump it, tear that station down, rebuild it, and then take that portable fire station and move it to the next one. So, I mean, if we do one a year and just, I think currently our stations are strategically located in perfect areas. I just don't think the resources are there the way it should be.
Sure.
You know, because we're moving here, we're paying like the shuffleboard, you know, let's move over here from this time period. But with that, I think, just like I showed you data of, and when I say data, I'm talking about true data that these individuals are going to these calls, what of our numbers are, and where it's needed. So if I put a fire station here, what resources am I gonna put in there? Okay, do I need transport units or do I need a fire, an engine? Do I need an aerial truck? You know, where's my high rises, you know? So I think that's what needs to be really assessed, you know, and I'm not saying we don't need fire stations. I'm saying I think we need to take what we have now and add those resources and then just monitor the calls. Now, since we've put these additional transport units, when I say the call volume has decreased per unit, okay? We still have calls within the city because we ran 92,000 last year. So we still have the calls, they're increasing, but also with that, if we talk about the response time, how quick are we getting there, the resources, you know, we talk about the pre-exemption system. So it's just a lot of things that we need to look at instead of just saying, we need a fire station or don't need a fire station.
Yes,
If
ma'am.
I
Thank you
was
very
able to point
much.
out.
Councilman Maniscalco, then Councilwoman.
No, I'm good, I'm good.
Oh, okay, so, because I saw you live first. Councilwoman Herzog.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. If you could, just a quick little update on CAD. How are we doing?
We're doing great with CAD. So even though the vendor, they always have to give you this lead time, 15 to 18 months, we're on track. As a matter of fact, I think we're a little bit ahead. So I'm hoping and praying that we will be using this CAD system by the fall of next year, if not sooner.
Okay.
Because that would be our 18 months. So like I say, we're on schedule with it. We're getting ready to start doing some testing and they're moving ahead with it.
Okay, because we had heard that you were able to, that certain things were gonna be able to come online as the system has gone through. Has anything been able to come online yet?
Not yet, not
Okay,
yet. They're
okay.
still going to, if you want to call it the design phase or whatever, but they're still implementing, getting all of our data with our GIS team, with TNI.
Okay.
They're getting stuff rolling.
Okay, great. And then one more question. and it just jogged my memory. This is completely left field, but I want to talk about it anyway because it relates to something we were talking about earlier today. The purchasing and implementation of a new ladder apparatus. And one of the things I hear about often when I ride along with fire crews is tree damage to these bucket and ladder trucks. Can you speak a little bit to the amount of damage the trees cause to these trucks in terms of like money or how often they need to be fixed?
So recently we had one, was it 50? 13. Yeah, but what was it, 50,000? Okay. So what, Station 13 did do damage to their bucket, so let's talk about pre-conning these vehicles, okay? So because we have that challenge, when we go to purchase and buy a vehicle, it's up for administration to change the design of it. We still can have the same functional operation of that vehicle, but we need to change the design of it. So what we've done, this administration, because of the recent challenges we've had with trees, we've changed from a front mount to a mid mount. So basically it would be sit lower and it'll come out a different way. So instead of in front over the cab of the truck, which is very high, it will go a different direction. It'll be a mid-mount that would be facing, like, sorry.
And is that more expensive?
It's about the same. It's
Okay.
Well, let me just tell you this, that manufacturers are going up everywhere. So
Sure,
if you
sure.
get a Yugo, it's going to be expensive.
But absolutely, and really my point for that is to say that, you know, as we look at the 2026 budget, I'm looking for some more money for maintenance of trees.
Yes.
So that doesn't hurt the fire engines. I think it's a public safety issue, along with cars, but certainly for our fire apparatus, which I've seen both at Supply and in certain stations that I've ridden with. So I just wanted to bring that up, and I appreciate your.
And we also are educating our people a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
If something
Sure.
doesn't look unsafe.
But quite
still.
frankly,
Yeah.
they don't need to be worried about a tree when they're trying to reach someone who's
Yes,
in danger.
I agree.
So that's what was kind of my point. I want to make sure that we're focusing on providing the resources so that we can maintain those trees. So thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to ask a question that it's, you know, people think about fire department, police department, water department, and they don't know the cost of everything. And we have it. Maybe somehow we could project and put somewhere where we can show them what a fire engine costs, what an ambulance costs, what it takes to produce water, what it takes. Because I want the public to understand every day when we're here talking, it's not easy. It's not easy for you. It's not easy for any department head. It's not, and we haven't educated the public at all. The public is in a fog right now because of many other things. Certainly the stress of maybe the economy not going the way they like it to go. The one country fighting with another country, the other wants to throw a rocket at another one. They think it's going to come here. No, I'm telling what I hear in the street. So they're really thinking, what's going to happen tomorrow? And we haven't given any indication. We have certain things they can go see, like how they produce water. They can take a bus out there to look at it. They can take a bus to the tertiary treatment plant to see how they recycle all the needs that need to be cleaned up before it's put up somewhere. They don't even understand because we know it's not explained to them. The refuge energy operation, what does that do? What does it cost to run? And the millions that we spent on just 3 areas. Those 3 areas, I guarantee you in the last 5 or 6 months, we committed, I don't know, $500 million to get it where it's supposed to be. And these things are done and the public only hears what's put out. And we're not putting anything out. And it's not you I'm talking about, it's the system that we work in that we don't quite explain to the public how, why, and what it costs to pave a street, what it costs. They don't have an idea. And it's difficult for them to understand why we do things the way we do. And I understand that, certainly colleagues of mine understand that, you and the city employees understand that, but the general public is not aware because we don't put it out. And maybe somehow, some way we could put it out so they can understand.
Thank you, Councilman Miranda. I think it's a good suggestion for our media and communications
Yeah.
group to work on something, especially going into budget season. Start talking about these budgetary issues. I think it's a great idea. I'll close out the discussion by saying thank you for the great presentation and thank you for what you presented. One thing that was missing, I would love to start having this in the dialogue, is Fire Station 1, because I know we talked about, I support your agenda of doing the improvements there, moving staff out, expanding that station to meet the needs of the expanded downtown area. So I think we need to have that included in our dialogue and future discussions about as we grow in and budgeting and, because we see how long it takes to get everything done. So at least start that conversation now. I thank you for coming to and doing the presentation today, Chief. Appreciate it.
What was the year that was built, do we know?
I don't know, do you know what Fire Station 1? 60s maybe? 60s or 70s?
Oh, how old is it?
Yeah.
78. Is it 78?
78, 1978.
Yes.
Well, that's only 50 years.
I got some that's 58.
It's a bunker, it's a
That's why I
bunker.
say it's only 50 years. 'Cause
No,
know
but
what
I
else we
have,
had.
It's a bunker.
I have 1958
I
stations.
understand.
Okay, so we're gonna move on, and we're gonna, I need a motion to open the 1:30 public
So
hearings.
And if I may, were we gonna hear from 754 on this as well?
Well, you only asked for the one item. You want to do this one too? I mean,
If if I may, if.
do you have anything to add to the master plan?
I do.
Okay, Mr. President, go ahead. Take it back. Yeah, no.
Thank you for that, Councilman Viera. Thank Chair Nick Stocko, President, Tampa Firefighters. The Wolf, the Elmo, if I may.
It's up.
It is, so this is what we came to council with in March 16, 2023. I want to remind everyone of what the motion was that was made in 2021. And it was to remedy wait times for Tampa Fire Rescue, inquiry on new fire stations, Channel Side, North Tampa, discussions on a monetary path, I've heard that a couple times, and the city to build a monetary bridge to meet master plan for the public safety needs. So I don't want to get away from what the original motion was, because we're making motions, we're having these same continuous and over conversations on the same items. So I want to remind that that's what originally what the motion was from 2020 to 2021. There were some mentions on response times. This is fact, and first I do want to thank the chief and both chiefs for coming up here and presenting. They were extremely busy and taking time out of their day. They did mention FPA 1710. It's a 4-minute response time. So if we're looking at 13 minutes or 9 minutes and in between 11 minutes, we're currently not meeting the standard by 3 times as much as that. Our neighboring departments, our governing agency, whether it's Hillsborough County, they're averaging 8 minutes. And again, in that geographical area, not a dense area, they have more of geographical issue. So I want to highlight that 4 minutes is the response time by NFPA 1710, and here outlines from the alarm answer to the alarm processing. And I can provide copies to all these to you by email. The master plan that was done by the union, when we were bringing these concerns of response times, was 356 pages in a book sent to all of council and the mayor's office. That was the book that we presented. We're working on a new one. I heard there was a motion for 2 or 3 months. Thanks to city attorney staff with Carl Brody, we have the information. We're going to provide this same report for free to the taxpayers, to council, and to the mayor's office based off NFPA scientific fact, data-driven, that's given to us by the city to present to you all for free. That's our gift to the city, just like we gifted it in 2020. That's how the motion started in 2021. We then see a master plan from Parks and Rec that can outline where every branch in the city, on every tree, will reach over sidewalk, over every fire truck, because we need to cut them down. They're beating down the fire trucks, as well as every other thing related to parks in 330 pages. Hillsborough County provided us with their capital facilities. This is just their capital facilities master plan from 2019 to 2030. They can tell you where the mop room is going to be in 2029 in the station 5 years down the road. This is an addendum, a supplemental report to Hillsborough County's master plan, 70 pages. An addendum, because it gets updated yearly. This council approved $100,000, if I'm not mistaken, to have one of these documents provided to you all so you can budget for it. So you can budget for it appropriately. And we thank this council each and every time during budget season for approving the allotments that we're able to use. But what you all are looking for, and what you're looking for in 2021, and what you continue to look for, is concrete facts of what we need within the next year, what we need in the next 5 years, and what we need in the next 10 years. And we've heard that question time and time again for the new council members that weren't here in 2020, 2019, and so forth. That's how this conversation started. We are now 17 meetings into a master plan, and as much as we appreciate the update on how we got here and the progress that we've made, because I think we've made progress. I think there's not one person that can't deny that. Thank you to the mayor's office and thank you to Chief Tripp and her staff, because we have made progress. But what we're looking for is for the next 1 year, 5 year, and 10 years. In reference to the Morris Bridge cutoff, we did come here and we did speak and get that advocated to be able to go through. So we appreciate those to reduce response times in K-Bar Ranch. But we have got to have something similar to this to be able to move forward within the next 1 to 5 to 10 years. We will have something for you hopefully in the next 2 months, and we will present it to you all at free for no cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, I would like to have a motion to open the public hearing. Oh, you have a question?
I have one question, and I'm going to direct this to Councilman Vieira because this has generally been your issue. Are we going? I'm going to request that Mr. Stocco and his team present that to us publicly,
Sure, yeah.
and so if you know about what time you want to get on our agenda.
You want to make the motion?
No, I'll let you talk to him and figure it out because I know that you all work closely together. I just want to make sure that we do put some time, maybe in November, to make it to, if we're ready, just because our spaces go fast.
Thank you. I was in communication with the IFF about 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
They've already provided me with a preliminary of breakdown per district, per box with population growth, increased call volumes. I will put the gas pedal on them and hopefully have it within 2 months.
Well,
if
we
not sooner.
really still need to get through budget, so it's
Sure.
really okay. October, November is probably a fine time. I just want to make sure that we get it on the agenda so we don't stop thinking about it. I know you won't, but we just, if it's on the agenda, we know it'll happen.
Absolutely.
So
Thank
that's an
you.
IOU. Okay, now I would like a motion to open up the 1:30 public hearing. I have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We are on item number 90, and we need a motion to, it was a request to withdraw, to remove that from the agenda. I have a motion. I have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from? Second. Councilman Maniscalco, I'm sorry, Councilman Miranda, I have a second. I need to have two different last names, the M's can't be together. Second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, item 9 has been removed. We move on to 91, and yes, go ahead.
Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the Legal Department, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. Item number 91 is a review hearing for an application for a design exception, and that's for DE1 2572 for the property located at 3701 North 52nd Street. The request from the petitioner, who is also the property owner, was to reduce the rear yard setbacks, from 15 feet to 6 inches on the rear, for the property, for a swimming pool. City staff reviewed that request to reduce the setbacks according to the criteria in Code Section 27-60. I've provided to you, City Council, a packet of information. First being the rules of procedure and the rules of procedure for this hearing. I've also provided a copy of Code Section 27-61, which are govern the review hearing process. I've also provided a sample motion for this matter. As indicated in City of Tampa Code Section 27-61, subsection J3, City Council is tasked with conducting a de novo review hearing, which means City Council is not tied to the evidence that was submitted strictly at the time the staff made the decision. You are sitting in the position of staff right now at this de novo review hearing. You are able to accept new information and hear the testimony that's presented before you this afternoon. City staff is present to explain to you why they denied the decision to reduce the setbacks for this property to have a swimming pool. After City Council hears all the information and evidence for this matter, City Council can affirm the decision of the zoning administrator who denied the request to reduce the setbacks for this property, or City Council can overturn the decision of the zoning administrator and therefore approve the request to reduce the setbacks for this property. As I indicated, I provided you a sample motion. I want to recognize that I have an error on the sample motion. The sample motion language says to waive the setback requirements. That's not what's being asked from the petitioner or the property owner. They're asking to reduce the setbacks, not waive the setback requirement. So I apologize for that error. So with that, I'll turn this matter over to city staff, who will present to you why they denied the request to reduce the setbacks for this property. And again, the criteria for this request is outlined in Code Section 27-60.
Okay. And before we get to staff, is there any ex parte communication that we need to be aware of and file? Hearing none. Okay, staff? Oh, I'm sorry. Can everybody that's going to testify in this hearing, public hearing, stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in by the clerk?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I have a presentation on a flash drive. Not sure where to put that.
Normally they're submitted ahead of time. Does anybody know? How to do
There
that?
is one that was submitted ahead of time as well.
If it was submitted ahead of time, our tech people should bring it up.
I also have paper slides if necessary.
They're inquiring now. Stand by. Does he have it now? So can you use your paper backup, son?
Okay.
If you put it on that projector, it will automatically turn on.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, City Council. My name is Waldo Carbo. I'm Planning and Design and Urban Planner 2 for the City of Tampa. I have been sworn in, and today I will be presenting the case and determination from Urban Design regarding DE 125-000-0072 for the subject property located at 3701 North 52nd Street. This request involves a design exception application that was denied by staff. The proposal sought to encroach into the required 15-foot rear setback to just 6 inches. Structure includes an unpermitted above-ground pool and deck. These are the relevant code sections that we use to make our determination. The applicant constructed an unpermitted pool and deck within only 6 inches of the rear property line. This is a significant departure from the 15-foot minimum required for the above-ground pool and is a reduction in the setback of 14.5 feet down to 6 inches. This is an aerial map of the area, the property being discussed today. As you can see, the surrounding properties are all single-family dwellings. This is an exhibit that provides a visual context for the proposed encroachment and the existing conditions that led to the code complaint. This is the looking north onto the property from East 30th Avenue.
This is looking east from North 52nd Street. This is looking south. Looking west. And this shows the boundary survey and the site plan that was submitted for the design exception. This shows the elevation taken in November of 2023, which was prior to the construction of the pool. And these next photos are taken from the code complaint showing the current conditions. And this is a close-up of this last one here. As you can see, this photo shows how close the deck is actually to the fence and the abutting alley. So placing a raised deck that close to the rear property line poses risks to the neighboring properties, including structural integrity concerns, inadequate drainage, and compromised privacy. The applicant has a viable alternative, such as installing an in-ground pool, which requires a smaller setback and would provide reasonable use of the property without necessitating such a significant encroachment. The zoning code and comprehensive plan aims to maintain neighborhood character and orderly development. Proving this request would contradict these goals and set a precedent for similar non-compliant structures. Reducing the setback to 6 inches from a 15-foot setback is an extreme deviation and not the minimum necessary. The RM16 zoning standards and the East Tampa overlay aim to ensure compatibility and maintain design quality. The proposal undermines these objectives by compromising privacy and neighborhood aesthetics. The applicant has, The applicant has not demonstrated any unique hardship that would justify the setback reduction, and their request appears to be based on personal preference rather than necessity. In conclusion, the request fails to meet the necessary criteria outlined in section 2760. It is not in the public interest and contradicts city codes and planning objectives. Staff recommends that the city council uphold the denial and this design exception. Thank you for your attention, and I am available for questions.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you. So the East Tampa overlay requires the 15-foot backyard setback?
That's correct.
Okay, and what is the accessory structure setback? Is that also 15 feet in the East Tampa overlay?
No, that is governed by the general zoning code, and so that's your typical 3 foot from the rear and 3 foot from the side.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilman Radin, did you have a question?
No, not at all, I'm sorry.
Okay, hearing no other question, applicant, petitioner?
Hi. My name is Calixta Rodriguez, and sorry, I'm kind of nervous. This is my first time. So I submit the appeal because my property, like you see, The layout for my property, even though my main entrance is on the 30th, but the layout is on the 52nd, so, sorry. If you come in to my house, my main entrance is in the 30th. But I didn't know that to have a pool, you need to have 7 feet on your sides or 15 on your back. So my house is kind of backwards. I don't know if you understand me. So I don't have the space to be in compliance with the regulations for the pool. So I understand that I'm not in compliance, but however, they don't agree to provide me with the DA1 exception, even though my house is the only one that the entrance is on the opposite side. Like, it's not on the 52nd. My 52nd, even though is not my front. Is my layout is on the, I don't know how to explain. I'm sorry. I'm so nervous.
You're doing fine.
So if I'm going to put the pool, I don't have the space and I'm not going to be in compliance because my back, which is legally my back, is my side of the house. So if he put the survey, and by legally the pool is on the back, but it's on the side of my house. So I didn't know that I had to that was my back at the house until I get in this mess, and I apologize. I thought it was my side because for me, it's my side. So that's the reason why I put the appeal to see if I can get the exemption approved, because my house is the only one on the entire neighborhood that have that issue, that is not facing the 52nd Street. And I also have an alley that it have 15 feet from my neighbor, so I don't see any kind of issue with the privacy because we're not that close to each other. We actually have 11 feet between my neighbor and my pool or my house. So that's the reason why I submit the appeal. I'm sorry if I don't use that language that y'all use, but I'm not used to it to this. This is my first time. I hope it's the last one.
We understand, you're doing fine. Okay, Councilwoman Hurtak.
I actually have a question for staff. I understand what the applicant is saying, but even if we looked at 30th as her front, and that would be a side yard, for the East Tampa overlay, is 7 feet still the side yard setback?
Yes, it's for the corner specifically, yes. They're
Yes.
both 7 for the side and the corner.
Okay, so either way, she's not in compliance with either the 3 feet or the 7 feet, and regardless of how we're looking at this as an accessory structure or a side yard, we still would need to be, even if we were to treat it as a side yard instead of a backyard, we still don't comply. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But I do have the 7 feet between the front when the pool is.
Hold on one second. Okay, would you like to come and provide further testimony? Go ahead and go to the podium. The microphone's over here, so we need you here. And if you would state your name again, please.
I don't have the 15.
Okay, just state your name first, and then you can start.
Sorry, Calixta Rodriguez.
Okay.
I don't have the 15 feet from my property to the pool. Sorry. I don't have the 15 feet because my side is my back, but I do have the 7 feet from the side to the pool. I do have those.
Okay, I think that's that's not an area that we have consensus on. Staff, would you like to bring up the survey?
I can't. Technically, from the corner.
Come back up here.
I'm sorry.
So from the corner.
State your name first.
Waldo Carbo, City of Tampa, Urban Planner 2.
Why don't you throw the survey on the Wolf, please?
Just bear with me here. Everything got out of order. Okay, so as you can see here, North 52nd is considered the front, East 30th would be the corner, and technically she does have the 7 feet from the corner yard, but that was never the issue. The issue was the rear, and even if you turned it sideways, you still wouldn't have it from.
So can you, so for the applicant's point of view, can you show where the survey lines are for the backyard and then the distances? Because what she was saying, she has a more length here. Or would you like to show on, would you like to point out what you're saying to us?
I mean, what I'm trying to say is, this is my entrance, right? So this is my side of the house, even though for purposes is my back.
We understand that part.
So this is a pool. I do have the 7 feet here. My issue is that I cannot be able to have the pool if I had to take, or if I have to move it 15 feet, because I don't have that space in there.
Okay, so so the difference is maybe is what we're defining as side and back yards. So what the staff is telling you what the distances are. So we just make sure we understand that we're speaking in the same language. You're saying, what the staff is saying, that your backyard is against that alley, and even though your front door is one place, but your backyard is against the alley, and by city rules, it's got to be so many feet from that back alley line. So that's what that's the contended, or the contentious part here, is that your property line on the alley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just to make sure we all understand what we're talking about.
Oh, please don't move that. I have a question. So my question for staff is, the applicant said that the pool is 7 feet from 30th from the property line, but I don't think it's 7. I am asking, is it 7 feet from the property line to the deck? Because it's not the pool, it's the deck. That would need to be in compliance as well.
That's correct. When when it's an above-ground pool with a deck, then we count from the edge of the deck.
Yes, and so how far is it from the edge of the deck to the property line at 30th?
Pool from edge of rear fence, let's see, looks. It's hard to tell from here, looking at, I believe that it is maybe 6 feet, or is that an 8? It's hard to tell from here.
Okay.
It's been a while since I looked at.
There it is. The last written line says pool deck from right side is 8 feet.
30th,
Okay,
8 feet.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
That's what I was looking for, because I knew it had been written
Okay,
down. Yeah.
thank you very much. But either way, it's not 7 feet from the back.
Well, and if you turned it sideways, it would create more complications. Changing the orientation
Yes.
would just complete.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so is there any additional information you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this item? We have a motion to close from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose. Any discussion? Anybody, what is the will of council?
I'll try.
Okay.
I move to uphold the zoning administrator's denial of DE 125-72 for the property located at 3701 North 52nd Street because the petitioner failed to provide competent and substantial evidence to reduce the setback requirements in City of Tampa Code Section 24-290.3 subsection 1B based upon the criteria established in City of Tampa Code Section 27-60 for the following reasons. That the exception does not achieve the general intention of this chapter and the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. The exemption is not consistent with any applicable specific plans in place for the subject property. The specific to the, that that such a request does not clearly demonstrate that the exception is warranted due to the unique circumstance of the property, such as location of trees, buildings, et cetera, that it just simply, there isn't room for a pool, and the petitioner chose to put one there anyway.
Second.
Mr. Shelby. Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to, just for the purpose of the clarity of the record, you were referring to section 27-290.31B, is that correct? 27?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carried with Vieira and Carlson voting no.
Thank you. Okay, we had item 4748 is a comeback after lunch.
Justin Vasky, Assistant City Attorney. This is a resolution, a substitute resolution for item 47. Right, and this is only substituting the resolution, not the underlying change order, which is on file with the clerk's office. Now, we did make a change to section 3 of the resolution that changed the funds for which we're paying the contractor. But we did provide a little bit more clarification than usual at the recommendation of Attorney Shelby. We provided a line that says, no funds shall be used from the Central Tampa Tree Trust Fund or the South Tampa Tree Trust Fund for this change order. So a little bit of clarification. So we're asking that you approve the resolution with the change order on file with the clerk.
Okay, so is there any discussion? Councilwoman Hurtak.
I move the resolution.
We have a motion to move the amended resolution as brought forth by Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much for your.
And I move to remove, or do we have another? I was going to say, I move to remove item number 48 from the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak to remove item 48. A second? Second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay.
Thank you.
And are we ready with the finance folks? Let's go.
Yeah.
Money, money, money.
Money, money. Close enough. Let's make it up. I'll get through it. Good afternoon again, Council. Dennis Rogero, Chief Financial Officer. If I can have the mid-year presentation up, please, in the back there.
No paper?
Oh, I apologize. No glasses, didn't even see these. All right, we have it. Oh, I apologize. You were looking for another one? You got it? Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you. And thank you also for having us again here to discuss the mid-year of the current year. As you know, we typically do this about halfway through the fiscal year, every year, giving council and the public some insight, some more detailed insight as to just how we're doing. As you also know, it's a little later than usual this year, so instead of presenting you and the public some rather stale information from the quote-unquote mid-year, this presentation and what you have in front of you will provide almost up-to-the-minute information as to what's happening with the city's finances. Of course, interestingly, this is about the closest it's ever been to the anticipated recommendation of the budget for the next fiscal year. So kind of an interesting confluence of events, but I think those two together will shed even more light than we have in the past, because we're further into the year, so theoretically, the projections should be more accurate. Of course, at the end of this presentation, if you have any questions, as always, or Ms. Kopesky has any questions, please reach out to us and let us know. Let's see if I do this slide. All right. And as we do every year, just a very brief overview of the budget in its entirety. You know, City Council is already very, very familiar with this, but there may be members of the public that are not, and it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of refresher, I think, for everybody. So you see right here, a little over $1.8 billion. And as always, and I don't see it ever changing, the two largest components are the enterprise funds and the general funds, about 3/4 of the budget in its entirety. Drilling down just a little deeper into those particular funds, because that's where a lot of the city activity takes place, of course. On the left, the general fund, a little over $650 million, and on the right, at over $735 million, the enterprise funds. And then you can follow the graphs. Public safety, a very large portion of the general fund, of course. The central government, the back office functions, human resources, revenue and finance, T&I, things that not very many people see in the community, but keep the wheels of government turning. And then, of course, parks and recreation, public works, and economic development. And then over on the right, again, as council is aware, these are the enterprise funds. Those city departments, that we ask to run, quote unquote, like a business, make a quote unquote profit, using those profits for either improvements or future plans, in contrast to the private sector. And as we always do, and probably always will do, dive deeper into the general fund. This is always a large portion of our focus, as council knows. This is the money the mayor and council have the most flexibility in spending. That's why we call it the general fund. You can spend it on generally anything. Other revenues, whether they're special revenues, enterprise fund revenues, are always restricted as to the purpose you can spend that funding on. So because of this flexibility, it's really the most valuable dollars in the city budget. Every dollar is not really equal. Police and fire, of course, as I stated just a little while ago, and as you know, the public safety services are a very, very large portion of this budget, and they also typically get a very, very large portion of the residents' and government's focus. And it's also funded, that is the general fund, is also funded from property taxes. Okay, property taxes, of course, get a lot of focus, very sensitive. They're also the single largest revenue source in the city, and of course, the single largest revenue source for the general fund. So I say all that to say, we give it a lot of time and attention because it typically gets a lot of time and attention. And you see it here again, almost $653 million. So how's the general fund doing this year? It's doing not bad. It's doing not bad. What the finance people in my shop would call a very good glide path as we approach the end of the fiscal year. And this is one of the reasons why. The good news is property tax revenues are just about right on target. A little bit more, a couple million, we'll take it. What we really look for every single year, even earlier than this time, and we monitor it closely, is that it's not coming in less than anticipated. And that's really the case with all of our major revenues. I'm going to show you a major revenue in just a little bit that is coming less than anticipated, and of course that hurts. But this is a very, very good sign. And just so council and the public knows, as we go forward on these slides, when you see a green dot, that means it's better than we anticipated, and as will be very obvious very soon, when you see a red dot, it is worse, or we project it will be worse than anticipated. So you got less than a 1% variance, very, very tight, but again, at least it's not going down. especially in light of the hurricane and damage activities that we've recently faced. And here's an unfortunate example of a major revenue that is going down. It's going down quite a bit compared to what we anticipated, and that's unfortunate. About $4 million. $4 million is enough to hurt. The primary reason for this, I would submit to you, are the sales tax holidays that continue to be surfaced in the state. There was a new one back in January. What was that? Back to school. And we have four more coming before the end of this fiscal year. You also see a downtick in consumer spending and consumer sentiment, and that translates into sales tax revenue. This is the one of the more, as you've heard before, one of the more elastic revenues as opposed to a nice steady property tax revenue. This is really subject to the whim of the consuming public.
Dennis, is that a projection for the end of the year?
Yes, for the end of this fiscal year, yes. And also, unfortunately, our electric franchise fees and our electric utility services taxes are collectively coming in below expectation. Again, it's about $6 million. Again, that hurts. Now, we're still on a good glide path, as I said. Picked up a little in property taxes. You're going to see some expense. We're going to see some expense projections that are lower in budget. But you add up the $4 million, the $6 million. Yeah, that starts to hurt. Ironically, you've got two different revenues, and I thought about splitting them out, but I thought it might have been too wonkish. You got two different revenues going two different directions. The electric utilities taxes, that's the taxes that we charge for that are charged for electricity in the city. It's about 10%. That's going up slightly. But the franchise fees are taking a nosedive. And of course, the franchise fees are what we charge businesses for the use of our rights of way. It's our rights of way. We get a return on our investment for them using it. Unfortunately, it's going down more than anticipated. And because it's linked to fuel prices and fuel charges, we think that's what's leading to that. Now, as we continue to analyze the budget through the end of the year, we'll see if we're picking up that savings on the expenditure side. The communication services tax, I've got a long history with this tax, so you've heard me say it before. It's just about flat line across the board, but we'll take that, especially because this tax looked like it was going away for years, and indeed it's been attacked quite vigorously. It used to bring in about double this. But you've got exceptions at the legislative level, and again, really heavily invested in landlines, which are going away. I don't have one anymore, for instance. So we'll take a flat line on this as long as we're not losing it completely, and for a while it sure looked like we were. Personnel costs. Good news on personnel costs. The better news if it was less than anticipated, but the good news is it's not more than anticipated. And we really don't anticipate, I use the word anticipated a lot, we don't think that it's going to be, we don't think it's going to be variable a whole lot, and that's because, as we've talked about before, this new OpenGov software that we have has made our projections, especially when it comes to personnel costs, very accurate. You see the deviation between where we think we're going to land and the budget over time gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's good. It means it's more accurate. So coming in right on target.
Dennis, can you pause for a moment for questions?
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
2019 to 2025, how many more people have we added?
2019 to 2025. Let me see if I've got that in my notes. Can I circle back to you on
Sure,
that? I've got
sure.
it year by year. I don't have it cumulatively.
No problem.
And I
but
hate to do math on the fly.
Oh, no, I appreciate that, but that's roughly $175 million more annually since FY19. Yeah, 180 million more. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, we'll circle back to you with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching the same thing. It was kind of crazy. Okay, thank you for the pause.
Yes,
And you're going to get back with us on actual
absolutely.
numbers.
Got it.
Thank you.
The personnel numbers.
And again, a bit of good news, operating costs are coming in, less than anticipated. We'll take that, about $4-ish million. And these are primarily, again, this is general fund in your heavy hitters, in your parks and recreation, so great, in your fire department, in your police department. Fire and police and parks, they are the biggest portions of the general fund. So if there's savings there, you're going to get that nice domino effect from a fund-wide perspective. Turning to the pensions, the fire and police pension had a very, very, very good investment year last year, and you're seeing that play out in a reduction in expense associated with that from just under 40 to about $37.5 million. A 30+% annual investment return will do that for you. So they're doing very, very good. Very, very, very well.
So we all need to have that fund invest our own private money. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, in retrospect, that would, now, again, although they have been wildly successful over their 40-odd, maybe it's 50-year period, now, when they go down, they go down. But when they go up, they really go up. A little bit more of an aggressive investment philosophy.
Well, Councilman Miranda.
Is that the same
microphone?
The fire and police department have had for years?
Yes, yes.
Those people are really unbelievable.
They call, the head of it is a gentleman by the name of Jay Bowen, very, very smart. They call him the Oracle of Tampa.
He's unbelievable, that guy.
Yes, just a fantastic, fantastic investment history.
Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no, not at all. Interrupt whenever y'all would like. Just a little bit over projections on the GE pension. Again, a less aggressive investment philosophy, but still a very, very good year last year. So from a statistical scale perspective, they're right on target, and we'll take that. You know, I try to highlight this every time I get up in front of City Council and every time I get up in front of the public. We have two wonderful pension programs here in the city, well-funded, well-managed, just very, very sharp people managing the money and very, very sharp people on the board. And I'm on both boards, but I do not include myself in that description. You've got some really proactive, smart individuals managing our pension money. And of course, theoretically, the pension's going to go on forever, right, in perpetuity. So you can afford a little bit more aggressivity and a little more focus on your return as opposed to city funds, right? Because it's going to go on forever, and you've got that time to invest and that time to see the long, in fact, what I'm doing is I'm simply parroting what Mr. Bowen over at the Fire and Police Pension Fund says, that long-term view. And you're seeing it play out. I will remind public, I know council knows this, the city has never taken a pension holiday. Based on actuarial analysis, the city contributes everything the city is supposed to every single year, and that's one of the reasons our pension funds are so well funded. And the ending available fund balance, again, looking very good at this particular time of the year. You see that nice, consistent 23, 24%, again, outside of the pandemic years. You know, in contrast, last year, at about this time, I came before council and I said, I don't know if we're going to finish fiscal year 24 at that 23% figure. We ended up doing that, but again, that was earlier in the year with less information. We think we're going to come in at 23% this year, which is very, very good news. And regarding that glide path, and I know you've heard it before, but I do think it's always worth reiterating that consistency in terms of what our unassigned fund balance is, very, very important to those outside looking at our financial picture. First of all, it's above policy, and which speaks to very, very conservative financial management historically, and we'd like to continue that. And again, as I always try to do, I want to thank council, this council and past councils, for emphasizing, for realizing, in my opinion, the importance of a very, very strong fund balance. It's serving us well as we speak in terms of floating money while we wait for FEMA reimbursement, for example. We have the wherewithal to meet our short-term needs, and depending upon when we get that FEMA reimbursement, we might have the wherewithal to meet our long-term needs simply because of this very strong fund balance position. As you probably know, we are breathing very, very heady air when it comes to our proration. We are in very, very strong, you're gonna hear the other side of this coin in just a few minutes, but we're in a very, very strong financial position at this time. Moving into the enterprise funds, again, the largest single chunk. Oh, did it not? Oh, there we go. At just a little over just a little under $740 million. Again, these are operated like a business, expected to make a profit, and I think, and I'll speak a little more on this in just a moment. I think with the rate plans that we have in place, including now the solid waste department, I think they're very, very firm. They're structurally very sound for the immediate future and the challenges that we may face. Starting with the parking department, they continue to do well. Revenue's holding up, or revenue's up, you see, and they're holding the line on expenses. Again, new parking rates went into effect in late 2021. We're seeing the benefits of that. And the fees, they go up 3% each year, and again, we've tried to expand our philosophy in terms of indexing fees and charges, so we don't get caught behind the 8 ball, and we have done it in the past. They're a great example. I think water, wastewater, and solid waste are also great examples of that indexed fee schedule going forward into the future. We project they'll use less of their fund balance than planned, and it is planned that they use some fund balance. While, again, you see the debt service and the capital project expenses still in line, $11 million in CIP projects. And in stark contrast to last year at this time, the solid waste department is doing very, very well. And of course, that's just as we and council planned with that first year of a 5-year rate schedule that we implemented. You see, it's paying off. They're using substantially less fund balance than anticipated. They're going to end the year very, very strong to the bottom lower right there. Their expenses are also coming in less, so we'll take that. And the capital spending, again, remains right on target. So congratulations, council. This is a recent action, and it certainly appears to be paying off. Wastewater, just a little bit more of their fund balance we anticipate they're going to use than planned. But again, from a scale perspective, pretty much on target. Their short, medium, and long-term plans so far are in line with what our projections were and what our projections are probably going to continue to be as we look at future debt issuances for the PIPES program. Very, very similar picture, although more positive, with water coming in well ahead. We anticipated at the end of the year, again in the lower right. Water-based charges coming in better than expected, and you see a nice reduction in what we anticipate will be their expenses. Again, so far for both water and wastewater, and they really are joined at the hip, both internally and from the outside financial perspective, on target and doing well. And here's the remaining budget calendar. You see, again, in just a couple of weeks, we'll be coming in with the mayor's budget presentation. We've got two workshops scheduled so far, and of course the 2 public hearings. looking forward to a lot of opportunity to discuss the budget for fiscal year '26, and as we progress through this year, discuss the current year. Let me just close real quick, and then I'll give you the other side of the coin. Thank you, as always, for giving us the opportunity to present this information. And now the storm clouds, no pun intended. It seems like every year since the global pandemic, I come in and tell council, hey, we're in a strong position, but there's challenges. Well, we're in a strong position, but there's challenges. And there really are, and you got to laugh a little about it, because some of the greatest business, economic, and investment minds in the United States, if not the world, say this is the most uncertain economic environment that they've ever experienced. It's always uncertain. It's the future. But that's not what you want to hear from some of the greatest economic, business, and investment minds on the planet. So we do have some headwinds, right? Less than a year ago, 2 back-to-back storms, all right? Not trying to fear-monger, but the facts are the facts. And again, we've got a very good fund balance for that. You've got inflation appearing to cool, but what's also cooling is the job market, the employment scenario. And that's a very precarious balance that the Federal Reserve tries to ride that razor's edge rail. Not too high inflation, but not too great of a job market. So everybody thinks that's going to remain precarious for some time. I've already talked about consumer sentiment and consumer spending. You've probably heard me say it before, consumer spending in the United States is almost 3/4 of the entire economy. When consumers stop spending money or start spending less money, that's not a good sign. The last quarter's gross domestic product for the U.S. was down for the first time in years. From what I read, I don't think it's foreseen to go down in the second quarter, which is the unofficial definition of a recession. But the estimates for GDP growth continue to decline, to go down. So there does appear to be a slowing. And I think that's all the doom and gloom I want to share with you today. In the short term, we're in the middle of the summer, right? High activity, some volatility associated with rainstorms, obviously volatility associated with hurricanes. You've got parks and recreation, you've got police and fire, and we'll see what what happens over the summer with those expenses. So thank you again. I always appreciate your patience, letting me get a little wonkish in terms of the information we're sharing. I always rather share too much than too little, and I can answer any questions now or circle back.
There are questions. I'm going to start with Councilman Hurtak, work down to the right, and then I'll finish up with Councilman Carlson. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I want to say thank you, first of all. This is very comprehensive, and I just also want to thank your team for the fact that we just went through 2 hurricanes in this budget year. This is very impressive. Where we are is very impressive, and I want to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
And if you have not already, I would ask that you email this to our Budget Advisory Committee.
I have not, but I will, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's really important. They're going to want to see that. And that was on my list already before Mr. Scaglione walked in the room. So it just reiterated that point, though. But they need to see a copy of this before their next meeting.
Absolutely. And we will make it available on our website, too.
Oh, excellent. That was going to be my second question, so that folks can really take a look at it. Again, my main question, I wanted to know about the personnel expenditures, but that's where I'll leave for now. Thank you.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much. Always a wonderful presentation. I'm glad to
Thank
see
you,
that the communication services tax is flatlined essentially, because I know that was just in tremendous decline because of cell phones and the lack of landlines and whatnot. But at least it seems that for now, we're not just hemorrhaging. We're not hemorrhaging, but not receiving that kind of income. The personnel costs are staggering. We went through the Great Recession. We had the mass layoffs under the Iora administration, but we slowly recovered. But what a jump from pre-COVID 2019 numbers to now. It's not quite $200 million, but about $170, $180 million, you know. And you said you would come back with the answer of how many positions is that, but do we need all that manpower? Can we function and deliver the same quality of services without having to spend all this money, all these individuals? And I know we want to be competitive and offer good salaries, and it's not cheap to live in Tampa, but that's a huge increase. And I know this came up, I want to say when the millage proposal came up 2 years ago, you know, how these numbers have shot up. But we need to be mindful moving forward because we're in wild economic times. I mean, every day is something different. You know, I mean, I see how the tariffs have impacted people. I've seen it personally. I've seen it on a global scale. Miraculously, I mean, from the March tanking of the stock market all over the world because of the tariff situation, the stock market is strong, but that could change next week. It could change tomorrow, whatever the news says, whatever the economic uncertainty is. I know we're in a good position. Why? Because we have great leadership, beginning with council and you and your entire team. But again, we don't know what's around the corner. We have high interest rates. Housing prices are cooling. You know, wages are not going up. The cost of goods are going up, and they're going to continue going up. Because if you see country by country, you know, the percentages could be a 10% tariff, could be a 25% tariff. And I've seen those directly where a lot of things are becoming even more unaffordable. I don't know the situation in the Middle East, what's going to happen with oil prices. You know, that's another, is it going to be a $5 a gallon summer? I don't know. But still, I like to prepare for the worst, and I know that you do. You know, and as was mentioned earlier regarding the hurricanes, that was quite a blow. And I know we had FEMA reimbursement. We have, you know, we are covered to a certain degree. But at the same time, I hope for a very long, quiet, many years of you know, minimal hurricane activity.
Yes.
But that was a wake-up call that around the corner, you know, we could be facing disaster, unprecedented disaster. And we just always need to be mindful with our money. So again, thank you for your leadership. But I like to always prepare for the worst because we don't know what tomorrow brings. Thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to echo the same my two colleagues just spoke about. The straightforwardness, the ability to put it just like it is and tell the facts. And when you look at today, like I said, there's not a human being in the United States that's not curious or nervous about something going on. Every day there's something new. Every day there's something different that has been looked at but never done before maybe. And yeah, we started with the tariffs, 110%, 150%, then you back down to 20% to the same individual. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the facts or trying to scare somebody and then telling other people what they have to do in other countries. We're getting to the point where this country, the individuals that live in this country are getting more and more separated from reality. And the reason for that is reality, we don't know what it is anymore. So when you look at those factors, no matter who the president is, you get nervous. No matter what party it is, you get nervous. So these are the things that are going on, and thank God that our citizens are doing as best as they can. And remember, we're a reflection of the people that support us. And we're trying to support them as much as they support us. That's our citizens. So I think we've done a pretty good yeoman's job. There's always room for improvement. And we look for your final report coming up and the new budget being presented in August.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Miranda. Councilman Carlson.
Could somebody put the presentation back on page?
I apologize, sir.
Page 7.
Page 7.
Could we look at page 7, please?
Would you like it on screen also?
Yeah, can we get it on the screen, please?
If I could have the presentation back up.
We just have to click back through. I think we see it. It's just to go up to the public now.
Oh, you can see it?
We can see
there
the
we go.
presentation.
Okay,
Just
let
click back.
me back up there.
Page 7.
So I'm having to squint, so if I pass it, just, there you go. Is that it? Oh, thank you. Thank you, sorry.
One of the questions I get a lot is what is the city doing with all the increase in property taxes? And the the answer on page 7 is, if I read it correctly, is the addition in the last year is about 20 million, correct?
Between which years? I'm sorry.
Just last year and this year, about a 20 million increase.
Yes, sir.
So people say, sometimes people say, well, my property taxes went from 4,000 to 50,000, but that's because when they moved in, the person before was homesteaded from
Yes.
50 years ago, and now they're, so the tax didn't actually go up. And we haven't raised the ad valorem rate. It hasn't been raised in about 10 years.
Yes.
But the property values have gone up, and people are buying and selling houses and values have gone up. But that's 20 million. But if you look at the overall budget of the city, but go back to page 4. If you look at page 4, it's 20 million is a really small.
Oh, I apologize.
There you go. That's
Yeah, 20 million is a relatively small part of the budget. And the other thing that you, I think I've said before, and it's a good point to tell people, is the public safety is 401 million. And then on page 7, the property taxes are going to be 358 million. And so that's roughly about 89%. So the point is that if people say, where's my property taxes going? Property taxes altogether only pay 90% of police and fire. I think it's a really important message for people because they think that property taxes pay everything. And I didn't create the message, I think you did, but it's.
No, I appreciate you pointing that out.
A good message for people to understand. And then everything else is paid through these other parts. Also, could we go to page, the fund balance page?
Yes, sir. Somebody tell me what
I
page.
forgot to write that one down.
It looks like it's 15.
15. I'm a broken,
There we go.
that one. Yeah, I'm a broken record on this, but when Pam Iorio left after the Great Recession was over when she left, but when she left in 2011, during the Great Recession, she had $150 million here. And that is where we are today. When I got on council, you see, well, the year before we got on council, there was 87, 83 million left in the balance. So usually what you do is you save money when you're in the good times and you spend the money in the bad times. What happened was the reverse, was that money was rated during the good times. And we on city council, we didn't know that COVID was coming or what was coming, but we could see that balance was too low. And so, thank you for working with us to increase that. But the point is, we just now got to the 2011 level, which is good news, but it's also bad news because it should be higher. The last thing is, how come, so many people are asking about stormwater and where the stormwater money is going. How come that's not broken out, like on page 4?
Let me turn to page 4.
Or in the enterprise funds? How come we've got 2 different funds for stormwater? How come they're not separately broken out?
The simplest answer to that is, we're trying to strike that balance between too detailed and more of a macro picture of what's happening with the city. We can absolutely break that out for
I don't know
if you'd like.
Do I need to make a motion, or could you guys just do it?
You're welcome to, but you don't have to. We can bring that back to you.
I think it would be helpful for the public to see on each of those funds what the revenues are, and it would be great to see it over time, and then ideally how they're applied, but just broken out of this so the public can see it. Thank you. Appreciate the transparency on this.
So Councilman Ray, you're good?
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm fine. I was gonna say the thing Mr. Councilman Carlson said. You look at the 401 versus the 3E. The total amount of money that we collect in ad valorem tax does not pay for the fire and police.
Correct.
And that's one of the.
Thank
No, I appreciate
I
you,
understand that.
I appreciate you pointing that out, and you will see a more detailed comparison of that revenue and those expenses in our budget presentation.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you. And that's what I was going to say. Not only would I like it for this year, but as going forward in 2026, it would be great to be able to see that so we can see where the numbers are going.
And I'm sorry, ma'am, stormwater or the?
Stormwater.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
stormwater for 2026.
The 2 different funds.
Yes,
Copy.
but additionally, you're asking for right now. I'm saying that when they bring it to us forward for 26, we would also like to see it.
Yeah, and
We can do that.
I would recommend going back at least to 2015 when the second one was passed. So just to show how much it's been and where it's going.
Okay, let's wrap this up.
Okay, I still have, yeah, my question was completely different.
Okay.
So I wanted to just make sure, we worked as a council to, with yourself, to find the extra revenue from FY '24. I want to make sure that that was included in these numbers, in the movement.
It is, ma'am, and I have an update for you on that particular subject, if you have time. I can summarize it. We've reviewed those recommendations by City Council with the mayor. What we've been waiting on and what we just received just a little while ago was the final certification of the property tax values for fiscal year --
Okay.
So we're analyzing that, and we just want to make sure we know as much as we can know before we come back to City Council with a recommendation for that funding. And again, just to read, it was stormwater funding, it was resurfacing, paving.
Sidewalks.
Sidewalks,
Yeah.
exactly.
So about when would we expect to get that?
It all depends on when we can get through analyzing the certified property values and when we can get to the mayor. I don't anticipate it's going to be very long.
Okay, because, I mean, we already allocated that, so that should be in those buckets where they need to be.
It is, and I thought I had brought an Elmo. Maybe I didn't, and I apologize.
Can y'all work through this?
Sure,
offline?
sure, but then.
Yeah, I was gonna show you, it is, if you look in the annual comprehensive financial report.
Yeah, if we can
et
work
cetera.
through that offline, so we can.
Okay,
I still have one more
apologize.
question,
Okay, go ahead.
is that I, because of how successful this was, I do want to make sure that we're going forward and also doing this for FY '25. So just be prepared that, you know, I would like to see this again, because I thought that it was a good exercise, and it really helped to talk through with the community what we have left and where it should go.
You mean FY
I agree, and I think that.
No, I mean,
We're
for,
in 25 now.
yes, but that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So for the extra FY '25,
Okay,
when
got
we
it.
get to the end,
Because that was 24.
yes, that was '24s.
Gotcha.
So I'm talking about '25.
I really think that's gonna be the norm.
Okay,
Going
great.
forward, yes.
Well, again, I just wanted to say, because I thought it was very good, so thank you so much, I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for your diligence
Thank you.
on that. That was good process. So stormwater is a good segue to the next. Thank you, Mr. O'Hara, and your
Thank you,
entire
Council.
finance team. And speaking of stormwater, Brandon, 99. I committed to one of our council persons that we're gonna get out at 4 o'clock, so we got 27 minutes.
All right, I'll go quickly then. Brandon Campbell, Interim Director of the Mobility Department, and I will start with a 30-second update on K-Bar Range Parkway. I did check with staff. There are approved roadway plans in the PLN. There's one last department to review that. Once that's done, they'll go to a right-of-way permit, and it is a developer-led, so it's, you know, the timeline's a bit uncertain, but we would anticipate within the next 2 years them getting that constructed. So happy to keep that dialogue open.
What's PLN?
It's an infrastructure construction plan. It is, it's a broader than a right-of-way permit.
May I ask a quick question?
Councilman Vera.
What, in part of my voice here, what developer?
Ooh,
And we can follow up.
Yeah, I think I know. I'll follow up with you.
You're
though.
you're
All right.
fine. Thank you.
So real quickly, an update on our operations division's stormwater progress for the month of May. We do have a report that I'll be reviewing quickly and highlighting that is on our website, tampa.gov/mobility. And before I get into the meat of that, a couple of other stormwater related items that I think will be of interest to you. We have issued a purchase order to Sunbelt Rentals for our temporary generators to bridge the gap from between now and when we have permanent generators designed and installed at our pump stations. We anticipate that being about a 2-year process before it's all complete. Additionally, we have issued notices to proceed for the design portion of those permanent generator installations. Also, we are continuing to have our stormwater operations crew work 6 days a week. And then the last thing before I get into the report, I wanted to let you know that we have an additional ditch grading contract that we anticipate being on your consent agenda on July 31st. We are still doing ditch grading, but that's additional capacity on top of those contractors that we have mobilized recently. So I will be using the Wolf. And I'm just going to hit some real quick highlights on the May 2025 stormwater maintenance report. You can see that year over year, our calls for service have increased. That's not terribly surprising given the wet conditions that we had last year and the increased focus on stormwater maintenance. Cumulatively, in the first 5 months of 2025, we have about 250 additional calls over that same time period last year. I do anticipate the percentage delta month to month to level out since it was so wet last year. We'll see how that plays out, but I don't anticipate as dramatic an increase in requests for service on a month-to-month basis for the remainder of the year. We did perform work in 12 different neighborhoods, all of which are listed at the top of this next page. Our detailed accomplishments are also on that page, but there were two things that I wanted to highlight for you. Highlighted in orange, we did remove 650 plus tons of debris from our system between the ditches, the pipes, and our street sweeping operation. About half of that was the street sweeping operation itself. And then on top of that, we have removed over 8 tons of garbage from the system. So just a quick note on, taking ownership of what's in your surroundings. And we certainly don't want to encourage, or we want to discourage littering and any sort of debris getting in the system to the extent people have the opportunity to prevent that. We have a few pictures within the report as well of before and after work operations. I did want to highlight, something that as I was looking at this that came to mind is that we do put these after pictures in these ditching operations as after the flow line was established. So basically after we've cleared out the muck. I want to make sure that people know that we do reseed after that, and the expectation is that low-lying vegetation growth does help with erosion control, water quality. So while we do go out there and mow on a 28-day cycle, there should be some vegetation there, and it does help with the performance of the system overall. Likewise, we did some ditching operation on Rome Avenue as well. We have continued to repair stormwater cave-ins with both in-house and contractor help. In the month of May, there were 45 cave-in repairs of stormwater cave-ins. I do want to make sure that is distinct from the wastewater cave-ins that department is working diligently on as well. Typically, that involves a more comprehensive diagnostic. I know we've talked about this before. Than your typical pothole. We are able to respond to routine pothole patching requests in 72 hours or less. But those cave-ins require digging out, figuring out what's going on with the pipe, fixing that, and then filling in the road surface on top of it. We do also have crews that do smaller to mid-sized construction projects. Sometimes they'll do some repairs like what we see at Glenwood in this picture, the repair of an inlet top. If it is an in-kind replacement or repair, that's something that they're able to generally handle just on their own. If it is an enhancement to the system, if we're adding to the drainage capacity or modifying it, they do work off of plans that are signed and sealed by one of our 7 in-house licensed professional engineers within the Stormwater Engineering Division. Just another quick highlight, they do lots of different things that are related to the stormwater system, and that also includes things that you might not think of, like fence repairs. There were a couple of those in the month of May. We do have, over the course of our current month, we have 8 different neighborhoods that we will be in. And something that I also didn't mention about where we have been, appended to this report, we have, I think 30 pages of very detailed data that show where we were. The reference system used by our work management system goes back to Atlas page. So it's a little bit tricky to navigate. There are a couple of steps if you are just coming at it and want to see exactly where they are. My intent is to refine that process, and there will be some administrative lift, some labor investment on the front end of our team, our GIS team, to get that into a format that is a little bit more user-friendly. But we didn't want to neglect putting all of those details in for reference for those who have the interest in taking a look at it. Of course, if you have questions about those specific locations, we can help navigate you through them. As always, we do like to highlight if you have a concern that you want to report directly to our department. Our customer service line is 813-274-3101, but also we use the TampaConnect.com system for intake as well. So that said, wanted to just kind of blitz through that. I know that you all are pressed for time, but if you had any questions, I'm happy to address them.
Thank you, Brandon, for a comprehensive report. I appreciate it, and I appreciate moving it through so quickly. I saw Councilman Wren, his light for, but I see it's off. So Councilman Hurtek, then Councilman Maniscalco.
I want to say thank you so much, because my literal first question was where in each neighborhood, and so I appreciate you saying that report is on the website. And again, that website is?
It is tampa.gov/mobility, and it is a little bit further down. You'll have to scroll down. It's within, our paving report is next to it, and there's some metrics on the page.
Okay, wonderful. And then all I ask is, you said that there is some labor hours needed to work on revising that and refining that.
Yes.
If there's additional funding needed for that, just let us know.
Thank you.
Because
my expectation is that our GIS team will at least help me to understand exactly what level of effort's required. Okay. But I also do think that they'll be able to help refine that as well without, we're not going to pull stormwater operations personnel off the street to do that sort of thing.
No, of course, but I'm just saying, if you need it, we have demonstrated our desire so that the public can understand more clearly. So if that isn't a barrier at all, let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hurtek. Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much for a great presentation. I was going to call you the other day because I see the email threads of you responding to constituents, or if we forward you anything, and you do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And I spoke with, who was it? I forgot. This was Friday, and I said Brandon Campbell's doing an amazing job, again, because you personally and directly respond to constituents. I spoke to a constituent this morning, Pam Canella. You may know the name. I know she's she's requested service in her neighborhood, but she had mentioned that she's watching the crews go out, cleaning out and doing the maintenance, and they're removing a huge amount of debris. So we have major projects that are on our plate now and projects from the past, but I made the analogy of, it's really about maintenance. You don't have to dig up everything and put a brand new system every single time. It comes to maintenance. For example, if your car requires maintenance, if it breaks down, you repair the car. You don't go and buy a brand new car. And as bad as that analogy is, and what she was telling me, she said, she watches certain neighborhoods in certain areas and seeing how they are after some of these pretty tough afternoon storms that we've been receiving in this last month or so. And she said she's seen a tremendous improvement. And this is her. I drive around. I try to see what goes on in the city. Not everything is perfect, and we need to do a lot of work. But in the areas that the city's gone in and done that cleanup and taken out that debris, whether it's ditches, culverts, you name it, I've seen improvements. Not everybody has seen it, but in the last few months, I think you've made a tremendous difference, you, your team. And as Councilmember Hurtak has already mentioned, if you need more money, let us know. We have that dedicated fund with the assessment, with the capital improvement projects. But if it's a matter of, if we can improve and increase our maintenance, our productivity there, and just, really make a dent and make a difference by keeping the system clean, I'm all for it. So, but I just wanted you to know that I've heard it from, not just her, but many constituents. I've seen the emails. You provide very good customer service because you yourself are personally responding. And I think that says a lot. A person in your position, you're higher up, but yet you're talking directly to the citizens, and our office appreciates it because as many of us do, as all of us do, we get inundated with calls for service and complaints and whatnot, or we see what's on social media. People post pictures and, you want to do something about it. So I just want to say thank you, and you're doing a good job.
Thank you. Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but we all came to the same conclusion. You've only been in the interim position a couple weeks, but I've seen a big difference in communication. And, the Stormwater folks, Yuan and Jeff DeBosier and Brian, others, they've all been very responsive, and they've gone out there like 20 different micro places in South Tampa that flooded, all for completely different reasons, no consistent reason. And they've been very helpful at all going out and inspecting and looking at them. And the answer is not always easy. We've got an item coming up in the agenda in a few weeks to talk about areas that either used to be drainage pits or kind of act as drainage pits. So what do we do with those? But I think they've done a great job even communicating the bad news that there's no short-term solution. And so thank you also for personally responding. To the money issue, a few folks have been saying recently to constituents that we don't have the money. We do have the money. And I've said this publicly. I talked to Chief of Staff about it the other day. We have the money that's set aside for the South Howard project. And I don't want to get into a long discussion about it, but that project is not going to be very effective. And the public meeting was a disaster. Like even the few people that are for it thought the public meeting was a disaster. We need to postpone that project for at least a year or two. Redirect, now it's 85 or 100 million plus interest. It's going to be 200 million by the time we're done. If we took 20 or 40 million of it today and reallocated it to the maintenance and all these places, we could get Kim and Still to do the contract because they're excellent at it, get them to redirect and go do the maintenance. We could save thousands of homes instead of 11. And we need to seriously do the maintenance and other work. The other thing is that a few years ago, we, at request from the community, we doubled the fines for people blowing yard waste into the street, and that includes blowing it into the drainage area. A neighbor the other day saw somebody whose house had flooded. Their landscaping people were pushing the yard waste into the drainage. It's just crazy that this is still happening, and I think we've asked this before, but I don't know if you could work with communication or code enforcement or somebody, but we need enforcement of that. We need education of homeowners. We need education of landscaping companies, but it's not acceptable that that's still happening. And people also are reporting that people working for the city are doing it, but people are going in, when storms are hitting, they see these drainage things clogged, they're going personally and recording themselves pulling trees and branches and leaves out of it, and they shouldn't be doing it. It's dangerous. But we, in 2015, when the new tax was passed, there was a promise that maintenance was going to be done every 3 years, and we see in most places in South Tampa, it's never been done or not been done in decades. And you all are making great progress, but we have at least 10 years of neglect that we're making up for. And if we redirected some money, we could do it quickly. And then also if we told people don't pour the yard waste into the drainage, that might help a lot too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Thank you so much, Mr. Campbell, for your presentation. Thanks for all that you're doing on stormwater, and I am confident that you're going to take the same amount of energy and get a streetcar built.
All right, thank you.
Okay, very good. So we have an IOU on item 94. I understand that, Mr. Rogero, you have a resolution.
Yes, good afternoon again, Council. Dennis Rogero, Chief Financial Officer. I have hard copies for Councilwoman Wood, and I can also, I think there's more than that.
killed a couple extra trees.
Yes.
Okay.
And I can also put it on, what do we call it?
Wolf. Wolf.
And I think this accomplishes exactly what council's intention was. And thank you, Budget Office, for turning this around so quickly. You see again, appropriation, I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
This is perfect.
All right, if you're good.
This is
we're good.
exactly what I was hoping to see for now, but I'm going to reiterate my promise to work with you and Ms. Kopesky and our CRA team to continue to see what we can do as the 2026 budget moves forward.
Don't turn the mic off because I need a motion to move this resolution.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak to move this resolution. This is on the United Ashley project with the amendments that Councilwoman Hurtak had asked for. I have a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it unanimously. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Thank
Can I
you,
just
Council.
say
Carlson.
one more time, I just want to reiterate for anybody watching, that was just moving money around. If you have input onto the project, let transportation people know.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, last but definitely not least, we have item 100. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Hager Kopesky, City Council Budget Analyst. I'm going to give a moment and see if I can get this up. But the reason I'm here today is to give you a brief charter review update on where we are. I'm just going to give it another second. Okay, great. Okay, so since the last time this was performed, there have been some things that have changed. So this year, 25, and from this point forward, every 8 years, there will be a commission of appointed folks for charter review. That commission is composed of 9 people in total, 7 of which you will appoint, and then 2 from the mayor. And as far as the alternates, 1 of those comes from each the mayor and from the council. No members of the CRC can be elected officials or city employees. And each of the members do also need to be a city resident and elector. A couple other things, because you never know what happens. Vacancies, if they do occur, have to be filled within 30 days in the same manner as which the original appointment was done. And a couple things that are different. So this time around, we do have to have third-party legal counsel. And we will also be using an external facilitator throughout the process. And unfortunately, the participants do not receive compensation. All right, so again, this is very high level at this point, but wanted to let you know at least that it was moving along. So I think this may be undertaken today, but initially we need to do the creation of the Charter Review Advisory Commission by ordinance. In the probably next, let's call it roughly 1 to 2 months, we do need to move through the process of selecting that facilitator and the attorney. This group will begin thinking about the appointments that they want to make to the commission. And then really, there'll be more calendarization about meetings and duration and that kind of thing that are going to occur. But big milestones are, obviously, we need to have a date set for when we want the presentation of the actual report to be provided to the council for consideration. And then somewhere roughly in the time frame of Q4 2026, that's when we would need to do the creation of these proposed ballot questions. And then finally, the ballot vote itself will coincide with the municipal election in March of 2027. Now, in terms of the word budget, what I want to make clear is we've done an estimate of what we think these services costs will be between both the attorney and the facilitator. Those are still ongoing as we, again, continue to refine how many meetings, how long will the meetings be. But what we feel comfortable at this point is to let the fiscal year 2026 budget progress and to make everyone in the council aware, we did include a $150,000 placeholder for that budget. So it will be refined, and in no way, if it is determined that there needs to be more, obviously that will occur.
So to be clear, we have been meeting, myself, Mr. Shelby, and our budget analyst, Ms. Kapinski, about this item. She has done really a lot of due diligence in checking with other municipalities, the counties on what they've spent, and talking about these types of processes, getting dollar figures about what the facilitators cost. So I really I appreciate the amount of work you've done behind the scenes that's been invisible for the rest of the council up to this point of bringing it forward to us for this agenda item. I'm confident that we're moving in the right direction. And as soon as we're done with this discussion, I do have the motion to establish this process that I'll hand the gavel off to Ms. Hertek, and then we'll be able to move forward on that. Council, have any questions? I see that Councilwoman Hertek, and Councilman Maniscalco, and then Councilman Vieira. Or you want to go first?
Yeah, just real quick. Thank you very much. I think it's important that we do have this Charter Review Commission. I believe it was Councilwoman Yoli Kapin that brought it up years ago and initiated it, since I've been here. And that group, impressive, amazing individuals, and they worked so hard. I heard the stories, I remember the debates, and just a fantastic group. And my appointee ended up getting elected to City Council, a man named William Carlson Jr. And that was the
original sin.
That was the official name. So I like that we have this commission, that there's lively discussion and of course differences in opinions and ideas and whatnot, and then it comes it gets brought to us, and then of course it gets to the 2027 ballot. But again, that was a very impressive group of individuals, and a lot of them went on to do really good things. And in this group coming up, I hope that as, city council meetings have gotten a lot busier, the debate has become more spirited, that a lot more folks show interest in getting appointed to this commission, because it's a big deal. This is historical. This is something that happens every few years, but it's transformative to their assistance. Their work is transformative in the sense of the future of the city and the city government. So this is a big deal. I saw $150,000 in the budget allocated. I think that's what you mentioned moving forward. And then of course, the facilitator, the attorney, outside eyes looking in order to make our city a better place. Thank you very much.
It's every 8 years, because the last Charter Review Commission,
Right.
which y'all sat on, you changed it from 10 to 8.
Right.
Councilwoman Hertek.
Thank you, and I do want to take a moment to just say that commission, we had Councilmember Carlson, we had Councilmember Goods, we had Councilmember Citro on there, I was on there, new airport CEO Michael Stevens was on there, our current city attorney Andrea Zellman was on there. Morris was on. The amount of people that ended up doing work for the city is pretty amazing. But I really do want to encourage people to apply for this, because I always like to tell the story. That's pretty much, I worked as a neighborhood leader, but that's how I got started. I decided I applied to either be on the commission or an alternate, and there were only 4 people that said they wanted to be an alternate. And the other alternate that was chosen was Orlando. And 2 people didn't show up for 2 meetings, and boom, we were both on. So you just never know. So I always tell people, just apply for things. You just never know what will happen. But I also wanted to talk to you very importantly about an issue that we got stuck with toward the end. And I want to encourage you to work backward.
Okay.
Because knowing the commission recommendation, I would work with the city attorney, because that was the other issue, if I remember correctly, was getting the wording of the questions for the ballot was tricky. So I might coordinate with both our city council attorney and Ms. Zellman to try to figure out how much time will be necessary, and then work backward from there. I think that working backwards is 100% the way to go. We really struggled. We almost didn't make it.
I think she's been dealing with the financial side of this and
Okay.
working through the process, and I know she has I think she gave us a lot of background because she wanted us, if we weren't familiar with the process, to understand what we're financing.
okay.
But Mr. Shelby has been working on these types of details, and I think that'll be really pertinent and mindful advice also to the leadership structure of the Charter Review Commission, for them to be working backwards for that process.
And if I can, Mr. Chairman himself reached out to the supervisor of elections to find out the dates.
Perfect.
So that we're going to work
And if we have to
backwards.
interpret.
Okay. Yeah, no, and
Yes.
it is really important, so I really am
Yeah.
appreciative that you're working on that, because that was the thing that we really ended up,
Running.
under the gun for that, because it was just it was a little nerve-wracking, because we had 18 amendments.
I think we're going to volunteer Councilman Miranda for the interpretation of this into Spanish, because otherwise the supervisor is going to charge us. So I think we're going to solicit your free labor. Councilman Vieira, then Councilman Carlson.
Yes, sir. And I have a question. When do we have to submit our nominees individually?
To be determined.
Okay.
Excuse me if I can. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney, not until it is created.
Right. To be
And it
determined.
is not created until council gives direction to bring back a draft ordinance. And at that point, the process will be spelled out, and you'll be able to have your questions answered, and you'll be able to raise issues that maybe need to be included in that ordinance.
Okay.
Sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'm going to be seeking a waiver to appoint Joe Greco on here. I'm joking. God bless Joe, one of my favorite people. But it is important that we obviously put on there good people. I appointed Michael Stevens on there, who's a wonderful person. And, there's different schools of thought on the charter. There's some people that say change nothing like it's the U.S. Constitution. Please, it's not. I mean, that's just my view. But you do want to be responsible, obviously, and there's a healthy center. But just looking forward. Thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, thank you all for going through this, and thank you to Councilmember Maniscalco for putting me on there. It was a really interesting, rewarding conversation. I got to know Lynn and all the others that way. It was a great experience to go through. We need to just remembering from the past, and Lynn was our spokesperson. She was the one that went around and spoke at all the League of Women Voters and all the groups to try to explain to people what we had voted on. We need to give them clear direction about what we want to do. And one of the things I think we ought to sit down and try to build some consensus ourselves on some ideas or themes. I remember one time I was discussing, I don't remember the exact details, but I was discussing the balance of power between the mayor and the city council, and suddenly the city attorney, who was not supposed to be involved, came running down and said, "You can't take away the strong mayor, form of government." And I said, "City council asked us to do that." And he said, "No, they didn't." I said, "Well, here's what it says right here. It was in our instruction book." And so, whatever direction we want to give, it's really important that if somebody politically tries to intervene, that we have it specifically written as to what we want them to look at and what don't, and not detailed issues, but just big themes of things we want. And so we need to schedule that at some point. And then the other thing is about rules. We spent like the first meeting or two discussing whether we were going to have a chair, and whether we should have majority vote or supermajority vote. And that process seemed, in the end, very political. The fact that we didn't have a chair, I think, caused us to slow down, and it also caused the votes to be biased, without going into details. And by having a supermajority, it also caused the votes to be biased. So we had the majority vote, but we couldn't always get supermajority. And there were things that there were broad consensus on, but it was obvious that it was political. And I think all those rules should be worked out in advance. Also, one of the things we did change is to bring an outside attorney in because of the interference of the city attorney, who's not at the city anymore. But it is a separate process that we need to get advice on. And then, so anyway, just so we set up the rules in advance. So I don't know if you're going to, in addition to any ordinance request,
I have a suggestion about that, yeah. So that was part of our discussion. So I'm going to hand the gavel over to Councilwoman Hurtak. I'll start off with the legal motion to start this process. I move that the city council attorney work with the legal department and to bring council a draft ordinance that creates a charter review advisory commission pursuant to section 10.10 of the city charter for council's review and discussion on August 29th, 2025, under staff reports and unfinished business.
Okay, I have a motion from Chair Clendenin. I'm sorry.
Isn't that funny how that
It's been a long
goes?
day. Yeah, it's just
I know,
like,
I did the same thing.
Just escapes your head.
I will look down the line and I go, what is your name?
Seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay.
And so that's August 29th?
August 29th.
Look at that, and I'm just
We
wondering
don't
whether
have
if
an August
September.
29th. We have an August 28th.
August 28th?
So that
Well,
was
that's-
a typo.
That's a
Okay.
typo.
Okay.
Just another thing about that August date, if I can, just.
Everybody's putting fingers.
No, the August 28th date, maybe if council would grant the opportunity to do it on the 4th, and I'll tell you why. If you look at the 28th, you have that future land use workshop that day. If you want to go perhaps long on the 28th, you can, but you're going to go into a 5 o'clock meeting, and it's going to be a lengthy one if you see
To
it.
do it on the special call workshop?
No, don't do it on the special call
Do
workshop.
it on the 7th.
Do
you
it on
mean.
the, do it on the,
7th would be the first regular meeting of August.
That's long too.
There's only 4 staff reports.
the 7th will be fine. I think I could do it.
Okay, so I motion to amend that motion to August 7th.
Okay. So we
Although,
have an,
if I can, respectfully, I don't know whether that's enough time to work with the city attorney to talk about all the issues to bring back something fully formed to council.
You're the one that just said that to us.
No, I was looking,
does it need to be fully formed? I think the issue is that Councilmember Carlson clearly said that we need to discuss it. I thought, I mean,
This is just creating this is just creating it.
no.
Yeah.
Well, it's just
The motion is I move the city council attorney to work with legal department to bring to council a draft ordinance that creates a charter review advisory commission.
draft.
yes, but I think
Okay.
all the things that you wish to have in terms of
Well,
guidance should be.
okay, no, the guidance, this is the creation of it. I think that, okay, let me go, I'm gonna have a second motion here in a second. Okay.
So-
I motion to amend my,
Yes.
to August 7th.
So we have an amended motion by Chair Clendenin, and we have a second by Councilmember Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, now my next thing is, what is the sentiment of council, like what you just heard from Councilman Carlson? There's a lot of issues the last Charter Review Commission discovered in the process, including the structure of the review commission. Would you like to add on to a workshop, have a special workshop that is just about charter review?
I think that we could just talk about it on the 7th.
Yeah, I guess I can take that back if you want.
Yeah, well, if you're making a motion. then-
I won't. I mean,
Okay, but yes, I think we just talk about it on the 7th. We get input from the public on that day.
So would everybody, what we're saying is that people would be prepared to have those ideas on the 7th?
Yeah.
And bring them forward?
I think we should.
But can you just make a separate motion just to say that we're gonna discuss the rules for the committee and also?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I'm
also
hearing a
the
motion coming
issues-
from you.
Also the issue.
So-
So I make a motion to add, adjacent to the other item on August 7th, a city council discussion of the rules for the committee and also a discussion of general themes that we would like the committee to discuss.
Okay.
I'll second with an amendment. My amendment is, because this is about the Charter Review Commission, I would like for there to be public comment on this specific item only during or like either before, so people don't have to take their 3 minutes of general public comment. I think that people should be able to speak specifically to this with their suggestions.
We'd have to, prior to this meeting, you'd have to waive the rules.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying, on that day of that meeting, waive the rules to add public comment.
Okay, but I think I think the public needs to know that we'll be waiving the rules for this. I don't know how we add it to the.
The question is, Ms. Hurtak, is, are they willing to spend whatever time it's going to take? If they get into it at 4:15 in the afternoon that day, depending on how things go.
Some people will, some people won't, but at least
Okay.
we give them the
Give
opportunity.
them the option? Okay, because otherwise, you would be forming your whole day's agenda around that.
Actually-
Otherwise,
If folks want to add that, I don't mind adding it, but the thing is, all of the Charter Review Commission meetings were open and we took public comment on them. That should be part of the rules. Unfortunately, the public didn't come very much, only to a couple meetings.
That was because the administration didn't advertise it. Remember that?
Yeah, they wouldn't even, the administration would not even, this is the last administration, but they wouldn't even put it on Facebook. And
Nope,
we
nothing.
made a motion of the committee to ask them to put it on the Facebook page
Multiple
for free,
times.
and they would not even do that.
Yep.
Because they didn't want, anyway, but we should add that as part of our rules. But the other thing is, whatever list we come up with on the 7th, it's not gonna be exclusive, it's just gonna be a recommended.
Okay, that's fine then. It's
Recommendation.
fine.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilwoman Hurtak. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, I don't have anything further. Anybody have anything further on this? No. Okay, very good. That concludes our agenda items, and so we are on to new business. Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I would like, Candy Lowe asked us to give a commendation that would be presented off-site. So I'd like to make a motion to present Candy Lowe with a commendation in honor of the 20th anniversary of Tea and Conversation to be presented off-site.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Vieira. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you. And then the other one is a little bit more complicated. I'll pass this down too. There's a motion and then a description. The issue which we've discussed several times before in general is that SBP Water Street is about to go north, and everything to the west of Meridian is going to be built to the height of the FAA limit, and it's going to be under the CBD, Central Business District. CBD rule is that the staff handles it, and the process goes faster. The Channel District, which is to the east, is kind of a hodgepodge right now, but originally it was set up to be a step up, and Linda Salcena worked on it with Andy Scaglione and the staff people at the time in planning. Unfortunately, because of all the exceptions, some of the buildings are really high and some are low. And an example, the Pier House, which is built by the Related Group, is 5 stories. I ran into some Related Group people the other day, and I said, you guys could buy this back and then build it back up higher. And they're like, yeah, we could. The public doesn't want high-rise and density in historic neighborhoods, but they don't object to having it in places where there's already density. And so I got on the phone a couple days ago with Ken Saltenberg, Andy Scaglione, and Abby Feely, and there's an opportunity to put in a text amendment for the July 17th, the July update. And so I'd like to make a motion to ask city staff to include a text amendment in the July cycle that would add the Channel District from Meridian to Channel Side Drive into the Central Business District, and to return on July 17th with an update.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Miranda, Councilman Hurtak.
I just want to say thank you because this is long overdue.
Yeah. I thought we had already started this process.
We had a discussion, but we didn't go forward.
I know,
So
it
thank you.
surprises me that we're actually here. Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Councilman Vieira.
Yes, thank you. Just really quick, if I may, on November 6th of 2025, I want to invite, we have Veterans Day coming up shortly after that. There's 2 very special gentlemen who I think Tampa City Council would love to hear from. One is a gentleman named General Remo Butler, who was the first black Special Forces Brigadier General in the United States military. He lives in New Tampa in Corey Lake Isles. I'd love to have him come and speak on Veterans Day, as well as a gentleman who some of y'all may have read about. I don't think maybe y'all have met him, Roy Caldwood, who's a 102-year-old Buffalo Soldier, World War II combat veteran, who also lives in New Tampa, who got the Bronze Star in Italy, and to have them come speak for a couple minutes on Veterans Day on November 6th.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Council. Then next on the Public Safety Master Plan, I motion that on August 28th, the administration, Tampa Fire Rescue, return for plans for an updated Public Safety Master Plan from Tampa Fire Rescue, and to report on plans for same, including costs and timeline to be done. And I'm not going to give them a timeline on this, but it's going to be a written report so that we can see if we can include it in the budget by August 28th, just for a written report.
We have a motion from Councilman Viera, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Council. Then last, a couple years ago, we passed a special needs internship program here in the city of Tampa to give folks with special needs $15 an hour. I've made a couple of motions on that. We budgeted anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 on that, and the idea was to have the city of Tampa hire people with special needs to work within the city of Tampa at $15 an hour. We have, I believe it is, 2 interns under that program, and now and we're going to be discussing this in council, but the move seems to be to look to give other organizations money for that. I think that the city of Tampa department should have people with special needs as interns. So we're having a report on this on July 31st of this year, and so I have a form here. It's very simple. It's kind of like, because I want a straight answer, it's kind of like when you were in middle school and you sent somebody a note, will you go out with me, yes or no? So it has here, will you accept a special needs intern? Department, yes, no, if no, why? That's all. I want every single department in the city of Tampa to be able to answer this, police, fire, everything. Because again, if for some reason it can't, let's know. But I think that we ought to fully utilize the money that we spent on this. So my amendment to the July 31st presentation on that is to have this, which my office will send in Word so that every department can execute and fill it out, to be accompanied with that presentation on July 31st, and my office will send this out.
Second. We have a motion from Councilman Viera, second from Councilman Maniscalco. Councilman Viera, isn't the issue maybe possibly more complicated than that, because special needs is such a large spectrum, and the accommodations that may be, depends on.
And if I may, so good question. So that's why I'm asking that. But again, without citing names, different departments have people with autism and so forth working in there. Something we can hire more than 2. That's my whole point.
Yeah,
we can do better
I
than
get
2.
It.
If you give me 8, I'll be as happy as a pig, and you know what? That's all I'm saying. So yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Viera, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Is that it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
So these are from you, so everybody has to go through all these. I'm doing the Planning Commission motions. So motion 1, a request by the Planning Commission to remove TACPA 2404, TACPA 2405, and TACPA 2406 from the July 1st, 2025, 5:01 p.m. adoption public hearings.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
A request by the Planning Commission setting adoption hearings for TACPA 2404, TACPA 2405, and TACPA 2406 on October 30th, 2025 at 5:01 p.m. and direct the legal department to provide the city clerk with a form of notice for advertising the public hearing.
Second. We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
A request by the Planning Commission setting adoption hearings for TACPA 2418 and TACPA 2503 on September 25th, 2025 at 5:01 p.m. and direct the legal department to provide the city clerk with a form of notice for advertising the public hearing.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
A request by the Planning Commission to remove TACPA 25-11 from the September 25th, 2025 5:01 p.m. adoption public hearing.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
A request by the Planning Commission setting the adoption hearings for TACPA 25-11 on January 29th, 2026 at 5:01 p.m. and direct the legal department to provide the city clerk with a form of notice for advertising the public hearings.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, next, we postponed the staff presentation on the Lower Peninsular Watershed Plan project to a date to be determined. I have worked with staff, and it is file number CM 24-9964. You do not want me to read the whole thing because it's really long. Staff requested a continuance until this project was completed. Now they have all the data and are ready to present. So I motion to schedule this in-person staff report on August 7th, 2025.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, and last but not least, this one's motion to have staff provide an in-person progress report on the TPD Impound Evidence and Forensics Capital Project. This status update should include the current approved capital budget and spending to date by asset type. For example, land, project management, construction, etc. 2, a visual of the current site plan, including parking and storage of any vehicle type. 3, building design with room-by-room assessment and square footage assumptions. 4, updated construction cost estimate. 5, a list of positions that will move from TPD headquarters or other current locations to the new site. 6, expected date contract administrations intends to initiate the bid process. And 7, expected completion date of construction. This progress report is to be presented on August 7th, 2025. This date was selected as it occurs directly between the 2 budget workshop sessions where council will be discussing fiscal year 2026 capital requests.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And the reason the reason this is important is this is the space where we have the ability to change anything if we need to. Past this, we can't.
I appreciate that you're bringing that forward because I've still got a lot of questions.
Yes, and I think that we need to be doing this with every major project, and I think this will be a good example of that.
It's just never, it's one of those muddy things that's never set really well with me, so.
Nope.
Councilman,
And we have to do it.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Here, I'd like to make a motion that the legal department bring a resolution setting public hearings for alcoholic beverage suspension hearings for September 4th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. Here, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602, 3rd floor.
I think you need to reread that with a little bit more excitement in your voice.
Thank you very much.
We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Councilman Miranda. Okay, there you go.
You're not excited about that, are you? Yesterday, I sent some emails to the clerk's office in the department, but I want to make a change. I'd like to make a motion to honor the late councilwoman Gwendolyn Henderson by naming the proposed amphitheater at Perry Harvey Park after her, and see what happens. That has not been funded yet, I understand, but let's see what goes on. She was very much involved in that.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Miranda, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. The discussion, Councilman Maniscalco.
Yes, Mr. Fred Hearns was here this morning talking about that. I spoke to him a couple days ago by phone, and I let him know that as a CRA 2 weeks ago, I made that well, we all supported it, but I made that motion that to Director McCray about exploring within that CRA, doing an amphitheater, and yeah, so this is perfect because I totally support naming it. If it comes to fruition, once it comes to fruition, that we name it after Councilmember Henderson.
Councilman Vieira, then Councilman. Oh, you were first. Okay. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I agree that we should do it, but I also think we should follow our procedures, which is filling out a form. I mean, we're supposed to do.
I'm just saying that's what I want to do.
Yeah, no. I think it's a fine sentiment, and I agree with it. But I want to make sure that that we go through the process that we make ourselves.
It's going to be the process.
Since it hasn't been constructed, I think we would have to do that. Just know that if this was constructed, this is the intent of council.
Yeah, and I have 2 more the same way.
So the intent of council, but we still have to go through the process. Councilman Vieira.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, and I'd also love to see, and this may require a waiver of the rules or what have you, but also a street renaming, maybe where Black English is, maybe somewhere in Carver City where her family grew up, the house where, something of that nature for Councilwoman Henderson, because we got to make sure to just honor the hell out of her. So
the next 2, if I may, and I haven't talked to these individuals that.
We have to vote on this one. Hold on, we have to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
And the next 2, there's 2 buildings that have really come to life in West Tampa, and I would imagine that the owners spend a lot of money, and they're both on Armenia Avenue, about a block north of Columbus Drive, and one is the old Annis Garcia Annis cigar factory that's owned by Oliva family, and the other one used to be a drugstore and a hardware store there right across from each other, and it's owned by the Prida family, and I want to talk to them before I make, but I want to know my intent, so that's what I'm going to do. That's it. Don't have no vote taken.
So no vote. Is that all you got?
That's it.
Where's the other 7? You promised me that.
I can make them up if you want.
Okay, very good. Councilman Maniscalco.
And that Garcia Vega building with the Oliva family, is where I was when I won my election 10 years ago. So it's I think you were there.
So we should have like a shrine put on this?
No. It's a special place to me, but also.
And I was there.
You know, you were.
I have a picture of my kids with him there, and they were shorter than him, and now they're taller than him. That's how long he's been on council.
So you see the dynamics of how we're all connected and we all go back. But, that building, the Garcia Vega, is very important. They have original elevator. They have all sorts of stuff in there. But then what the Prida family did in the building next door, there used to be a hardware store?
Hardware store and a drugstore.
And it is amazing how they protected the facade and they modernized it instead of demolishing. And, they're preserving our history in West Tampa. It's very important. Thank you.
Very nice. I have Councilman Carlson?
I just have one quick.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I just forgot to say, Colby, the reporter from the Times, she said it's probably her last time covering us. So I just wanted to say thank you. It's important that the press cover us, and she's been covering government in the whole region, including us. And, thank you. Even we don't always agree with what the Times says. Thank you for covering us because it helps educate the public. So best wishes to you.
My goodness, Times reporters come come and go so quickly around here. They come and they go. Ms. Kapinski has a request to have
Hager
a moment.
Kapesky, City Council Budget
Kapesky,
Analyst.
excuse me, I was here.
That's right. Just because I have you all here, and I also know that with the holiday next week and the week after, people will probably not be present as much. So it's perfect timing because Mr. Rojero presented the mid-year and reflected on slide 4, which I will put down, but just in case you still have it in front of you, a breakout between essentially the enterprise expenditures and the general fund. Why am I bringing that up? Because, let's make sure you can see that. Last year when we did the 2 workshops, we did all capital on a day, and we did all expenses. And again, we learned through every workshop. There were some good things that came out of making adjustments to certain ways the reports were shown. I'd like to make the recommendation, but I do want your input, that you consider, if you notice on this slide, you've got a similar, let's call it materiality level, and I think it might be helpful to look at that as more of a P&L and as well as a balance sheet perspective, meaning when we talk about general fund, you'll talk about the expenses of the general fund, and you'll get the presentation of the capital that's associated with those particular departments. Same with the enterprise, with our business. You will hear about the millions of dollars of capital, but you'll also be able to get an assessment of what's happening with the revenue and expenses. So, again, you're together in case you wanted to bat anything around, but it's just simply a slight shift in formatting that I thought may deliver the message a little bit more clearly. So. Again, the only reason I bring that up is I've teed it up with Revenue and Finance. Obviously, they would be interested in whether there's interest on the part of council. So having everyone today.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Yes, I think this is a great idea. It allows us to focus on one section at a time. So if there needs to be a motion, I'll make it. Otherwise, I just think it's a good idea.
Would it be timely to make a motion now or when we get back from break? Is it too late?
What I would say is it would be a little late when you come back from break, but it would also be okay if you just want to email me and then let me know, because I can share that with Revenue and Finance.
I'll just make a motion that one day be all general fund, both
revenue expense
revenue
as well as
and capital, and then the second day be enterprise, both revenue and capital.
The numbers are not going to change, are they?
No, but what she's saying is instead of doing like a one day on capital, like we would just be able to focus one day on general fund and one day on enterprise.
If you're going to hear about police,
I think
you
it's a
hear
good
about it
idea.
at one time, so.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from?
Second.
Second from Councilman Carlson. Mr. Carlson, would you like to say something on this?
Yeah, I just want to say real fast, I've said this to you before privately, but I'd like to say publicly, I wish we could have the public version of an income statement and balance sheet. It would be a lot easier for people to see it in the public, especially for the enterprise funds. But when we have revenues on one page and expenses on the next page and nobody's adding them together to see if it's positive or negative, that is a bit confusing for the public. Thank you.
Okay, so I have one thing of new business, and that is we have celebrating.
And before,
Oh, we got the motion. Second.
and before you vote, then I would ask that the clerk then amend the calendar to change the, what's in the parentheses of the special call workshops on the 4th and the 11th, because you have those broken down as the capital budget and the operating budget. If you just take them down and we make it general, then I don't.
versus,
Enterprise.
So if this passes, that make that note on there, thank you.
Well,
So-
or just take it out altogether for the purpose of the
You
calendar.
could just take it out and be workshop 1 and
there you
2.
go.
And that way it'll say.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, we have a second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, ayes have it, unanimous. Okay, so we have three, thank you, we have 3 birthdays to celebrate. The Chair Pro Tem, Lynn Hertek, recently celebrated, or was gonna celebrate a birthday next week. We had our Charlie Miranda's legislative aide and infamous city council employee, Mary Bryant, is celebrating a birthday on June 21st. And I see that Councilman Guido Maniscalco ditched us before we were able to say, before we get back from break, he's gonna have a birthday on the 13th. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Before you leave, Council, I do need to say something.
I'm leaving just because he's singing.
This is how you clear a room.
I have to say this, and I'm sorry, council member, may I just interrupt?
I haven't
Take 2
recognized
minutes. Well, may I be recognized?
Mr. Shelby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. This is your last meeting before summer recess. You come back, and the public should be aware that City Council will not meet.
You can
again
show up
until
next Thursday, and you can show up the Thursday after that, but you'll be very lonely.
July 17th. But the reason I'm talking to you, and I ask you to be very mindful, Council, is that you are gearing up for the public information meetings with the Planning Commission with the future land use map. And you had indicated by a motion that you want to be able to be on the safe side with regard to being able to attend that, more than one person. So here's my advice to you. This is really not a city council meeting. This is a meeting that's conducted by the Planning Commission. It is, I don't know what the formats are going to be, that you're going to work. They are working with each individual council member. I understand that Council Member Miranda has one scheduled so far. Council Member Carlson has another. And I know you're all going to be doing it. So in terms of notice and taking minutes in that, it is a logistic impossibility. So I'm going to ask you to do what you would do if you went to any other public meeting, is to be mindful of your obligations outside of city council relative to the Sunshine Law. So for instance, if it's a single-member district, it's likely perhaps that the at-large members will be there, if not other single-member districts. So my suggestion is to take this as a listening session on your part. You can take notes. If you don't share them, they are not public records. As long as you don't engage in conversations and say something at the meeting that would cause another council member to want to have to respond, it would create problems. One other thing about that. If you are on a virtual meeting, because I understand neighborhoods are also now wanting to set up these kind of meetings with the Planning Commission, so you may end up going to a neighborhood meeting. Same rules would apply. But if it's a virtual meeting that's relating to city business, which the future land use plan is, it's important that you remain mindful that you don't discuss the matter on the virtual meeting on the off chance or probability that there are other council members present. So I know it's a burden on your part that the Sunshine Law places upon you, but it's still an opportunity for you to use it to your benefit as a listening session and to learn from it.
Mr. Shelby, would you please make sure that you brief Councilman Maniscalco on that as well? Okay, thank you so much. Councilman Carlson?
Yeah, you know what would help is if you would just send a one-paragraph memo that we can print and give to the neighborhood association. I want to tell everybody, the South Tampa neighborhoods, which are particularly alarmed by that proposal from the Planning Commission, they wanted to each have meetings. Planning Commission said they don't have the capacity to do that, so the neighborhoods are going to try to group in groups of 2 or 3, and they're inviting all of us. We won't break sunshine, but I would be very happy if all of you came. So I want everybody to know about what's going on in the neighborhoods. Thank you.
It's a public meeting. You certainly have every right to be there. And the only ask is that you remain mindful of the Sunshine Law obligations. Thank you.
Okay.
If appropriate, motion.
One, I would acknowledge the city clerk's office for the flowers in honor of Councilwoman Henderson. Thank you so much for that. And a motion to receive and file?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion to receive and file, and we have a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. This meeting is adjourned.
Six, the paragraph right before the staff assessment. This was an area that Elaine and I and Heather discussed quite a bit because there's a certain degree of uncertainty about exactly